the throne of the Mechas. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 Reactions from all parties. Emperor Xia of the Galaxy Empire has been having trouble sleeping and eating these days. He is overwhelmed by the negotiation between Xia Xingchen and the Northern Empire. The domestic media has been reporting on it everywhere, causing public resentment. What is even more troubling to him is that the government of the Galaxy Empire is also reflecting on this matter very intensely. Many officials have written to the old Prime Minister to request the impeachment of Princess Crossing and the re-examination of the Princess Agreement. Emperor Xia went to ask the old Prime Minister what to do and got the answer of stay calm and don't be impatient. He went to ask Marshal von Bismarck, the Grand Marshal, and was told to respond to changes with constancy. He went to the Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei and was told that the matter was still under investigation and it would not be too late to make a decision after finding out the truth. Looking at the performance of these old foxes, Emperor Xia cursed behind his back. He was almost going crazy, but they were sitting on the Diote. 10 days passed in the blink of an eye, and the public opinion storm within the Galaxy Empire was getting bigger and bigger. Some ministers and officials from various departments were buzzing in his ears like flies, especially the routine cabinet meeting, held every 5 days, which is attended by the ministers and deputy ministers of various departments of the Galactic Empire government. Each government department has 3 to 6 deputy ministers depending on its functions. These officials formed a group to harass Emperor Xia and asked him to express his position on Xia Xingchen's matter. Emperor Xia finally couldn't stand it anymore. He summoned several trusted ministers to hold a secret cabinet meeting. Everyone, stop playing dumb. I really can't stand it anymore. You saw the cabinet meeting this morning. I received more than a dozen proposals about Xia Xingchen. This matter can't be delayed any longer, and it's time to have a conclusion today. But just after he finished speaking, he looked at a few old guys, and they either lowered their heads and didn't know what they were thinking, or closed their eyes to rest. Emperor Xia was furious. Lord Day, isn't your Ministry of the Interior investigating? Now, I want a result. Seeing that His Majesty the Emperor was really angry, Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Interior of the Galactic Empire, finally spoke. Your Majesty, there is no new news from the north now. We have analyzed the videos and images in the news and obtained very little effective information. Xia Xingchen does not look like she is in a normal state to start negotiations. She looks more like a dummy. It is impossible to tell if it is her real person. However, news came from Princess Crossing and the royal guards that Xia Xingchen is indeed missing, and the time of her disappearance coincides with the time when she arrived in the Northern Empire in the news. We judge that the possibility that that person is Xia Xingchen is greater than 90%, and the possibility that she took the initiative to negotiate with the Northern Empire is less than 50%. What did you base this judgment on? How can you know what Xia Xingchen is thinking? Emperor Xia asked. Your Majesty, this is what the intelligence personnel of the Ministry of the Interior have inferred, based on the reaction of the Northern Empire. If Xia Xingchen wants to negotiate with the Northern Empire, she must at least go to a place in the Siberian starfield to negotiate. The Baku starfield is now the front line after all. The Northern Empire's negotiation officials cannot negotiate on the front line. The choice of Blohinsk Star is intriguing. This place seems to be the rear of the battlefield, but it is not. According to the information sent by Xia Xingchen from the Northern Empire, it is an important deep strategic reserve base. If it weren't for the information sent by Xia Xingchen, we would not know that heavy troops were stockpiled there. Therefore, this may be a trap, and the bait is Xia Xingchen. If Xia Xingchen is caught by the north, the most anxious person will be Princess Crossing. And the relationship between Princess Crossing and Xia Xingchen is known to everyone, and it is very likely that she will rescue Xia Xingchen for the princess. In other words, there is a great possibility that this matter is aimed at Xia Xingchen. After all, their existence makes the Northern Empire feel uneasy. The words of Dai Yunfei, the Minister of the Ministry of the Interior, made Emperor Xia silent. The other few people were calm and composed, as if nothing unexpected had happened. It seems that everyone has already made up their mind. But it is hard for us to judge Chen Xinger's attitude. The old Prime Minister N.K. spoke, "Your Majesty, the person who knows Chen Xinger best is Princess Crossing. Princess Crossing just returned to Shinyuan Star a few hours ago. We might as well find her and listen to her ideas." "Very good. Someone, go and invite Princess Crossing," Emperor Qin Zhi said to the captain of the guards standing behind him. The captain of the guards took the order and left, but soon returned to the conference room. "Your Majesty, Princess Crossing has been waiting at the door for a long time." The captain of the guards came to report. "Let her in." Princess Crossing Kinjana walked into the conference room. It can be seen that her expression was full of deep melancholy, and her eyes were full of bloodshot. She had not slept at all in the past few days. Kinjana bowed deeply to everyone present. "Jaina greets my royal brother and all the adults." A corner of the conference room's floor opened, a chair rose from the ground, and Kinjana sat down. "Jaina, tell me, what does Chen Xinger think, and whether she wants to negotiate with the Northern Empire? I know that you have a close relationship with Chen Xinger, but I still hope that you can discuss this matter objectively and help us make the right judgment." "Royal brother, gentlemen, I must solemnly say here that Chen Xinger will not cooperate with Nicholas. She is a principled person, a person who values the freedom of the miners more than her own life. Chen Xinger is heartbroken by the experience of the miners of the Northern Empire, and her hatred for the Northern Empire and Nicholas is indelible. To be disrespectful, even if the Northern Empire unified the entire galaxy, she would fight to the death." Qin Zhi then asked, "You also said that she cares about the freedom and safety of the miners, so is it possible for her to compromise because of the Northern Empire's approach to the miners?" Kinjana tightened her face and looked at Emperor Qin Zhi as if he were an idiot. "Your Majesty, Chen Xinger can become the leader of the miners' resistance organization at such a young age, which shows her wisdom and ability. She is not an idiot. Do you think such a person can risk tearing up the Princess Agreement and sacrifice the interests of the remaining nearly 80% of the miners for the sake of the minority of less than a quarter of the total number of miners in the Northern Empire?" This Emperor Qin Zhi blushed. His question was indeed a bit stupid, and Kinjana was so angry that she didn't even call him brother. All the ministers held back their laughter. However, the great elder of the royal family, Qin Yuanshan, felt very uncomfortable. The women of the Qin family are too outstanding. There are many princesses with great achievements in history, but compared with these women, the men of the Qin family are a little pale in comparison. Especially this generation. Although the two princesses have different personalities, they are far superior to the current Emperor Qin Zhi and his younger brother Prince Qinyuan in terms of ability and understanding. It would be great if Princess Crossing and Princess Yu were boys. Chapter 627 Reactions from all parties. Emperor Qin Zhi coughed twice to cover up his embarrassment. "So, we should be able to confirm that Chen Xinger was captured and placed under house arrest by the Northern Empire." All the ministers nodded thoughtfully. "Brother Wang, I hope that our galactic empire will announce this news immediately to calm the domestic public opinion pressure and the anger of the miners, and then send troops to rescue Chen Xinger as soon as possible. Only with Chen Xinger, the Princess Agreement will be implemented seriously. The leaders of other miners' resistance organizations are not so sensible. This is in the interests of our galactic empire. Clarification is fine, and media control is also required. In addition, we can exert diplomatic pressure on the Northern Empire and ask them to release the people. But rescuing people may not be possible. Minister Day just analyzed that this is a trap for us. Jaina, there is a news I should tell you. The Northern Empire has more troops in Blohinsk than in their frontier position Borisov. The Northern Empire should not be aware that we have mastered this news. The reason why the Northern Empire put Chen Xinger there is to make us take the bait. Their goal is to rescue Chen Xinger's people. If we send people to carry out such a mission, it will cause huge losses. Once the people involved in the rescue are captured, the Northern Empire will have more bargaining chips. If you don't believe me, you can ask the Chief of Staff and Lord De Yunfei. De Yunfei and Chief of Staff Zhang Chenglong both nodded. Interior Minister De Yunfei said, "We have been conducting tactical simulations for more than a week, but unfortunately, according to our calculations, the probability of successfully rescuing Xia Xingchen is less than 1 in 10,000. This difficulty is no less than sneaking into Siberia to kidnap a high-ranking official of the Northern Empire. But Xia is an important participant in the implementation of the Princess Agreement. Letting her be detained in the Northern Empire will make us very passive, and the miners will be easily exploited by those with ulterior motives. But this is a trap, a naked trap waiting for you to jump into it. This is not a conspiracy, it is an open conspiracy. Jaina, don't act on impulse. Do you think it's good for the Empire now? Does the Empire want to see such a thing happen? Think about it calmly. Xia Xingchen's momentary impulse has brought great crisis to herself, the entire empire and the miners. If you continue to act on impulse, how many people will die? Emperor Qin Zhi was a little angry. He had been under too much pressure these days. When Qin Jaina pushed him, he was furious and didn't care about the tone of his words. Qin Jaina sat there, angrily silent, with tears in her eyes. At this time, the old Prime Minister Nkei spoke up. "Little girl, I have something to say to you. Can you listen?" "Please speak, old man. I'm 90 years old this year, and have seen a lot of things. The purpose of Nicholas's doing this is to use Xia Xingchen as bait. But little girl, have you ever thought about it? Who is this bait designed for? Nicholas and the Northern Empire have mobilized so many troops. Is it just for a few spies and a small team? According to Nicholas's character, shouldn't he just kill Xia Xingchen directly?" Qin Jaina shook her head to show that she couldn't figure it out. Prime Minister Nkei continued, "Two major events happened in the Northern Empire a few months ago. One was that the Gemini was messed up, and an important source of income for Nicholas was destroyed. The other was that Miranda and Ramanag were arrested. The initiators of these two incidents have not been caught by the Northern Empire until now. Do you think Nicholas will be willing?" Qin Jaina's heart was shocked. "Old man, do you mean that this trap is aimed at Xia Xingchen?" "That's right. Xia Xingchen is Nicholas' biggest headache right now. If he can't solve Xia Xingchen, Nicholas probably won't even be able to sleep well." Nkei looked at Qin Jaina with admiration. This smart girl understood some things at once. Qin Jaina was silent, or her heart was confused. On one side was a good friend, and on the other was her lover. She now knew that the hope of rescuing Xia Xingchen was slim, but she had to do it. But no one was willing to die in such a thing. If she asked Xia Xingchen to rescue people willfully, Xia Xingchen would definitely go, but this would harm Xia Xingchen, and she fell into a struggle. Seeing his sister's reaction, Emperor Qin Zhi couldn't help but secretly give the old Prime Minister a thumbs up in his heart. The old ginger is still spicy. Prime Minister Nkei is simply like an old goblin who has been around for thousands of years. A few words made Qin Jaina, who was just clamoring for the Empire to send troops, silent at this time. Prime Minister Nkei looked at Emperor Qin Zhi meaningfully again. Whether to send reinforcement is not the most urgent matter now. The most important thing now is to figure out how this happened and find out the culprit behind it. We can't let people lead us by the nose. Everyone nodded in agreement. However, when talking about conspiracy, everyone looked at the Minister of the Interior, De Yunfei. After all, the Ministry of the Interior is responsible for this. De Yunfei smiled bitterly. This matter is not simple. Just like what the Prime Minister said, these things are not conspiracies at all, but open conspiracies. The participants involve all aspects. It is initially estimated that there are millions of people involved, but most of them are unaware and are unconsciously guided by public opinion. This force accumulates over time and also conceals the real initiator. Therefore, the Ministry of the Interior still has no clue. De Ren, does your Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau have any clues? Minister, Your Majesty, the focus of the Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau is not on people, but on the events themselves. We have traced the source of these news and articles that guide public opinion. According to the timeline, we have locked in some media, public intellectuals, and scholars. We have counted and summarized some news, papers, academic reports, etc. released by these public intellectuals and scholars close to the source of the news over the past few decades, and found some connections. We found hundreds of large media, thousands of small and medium-sized media, and some scholars. We found that they have released similar information at the same time points in the past few decades. We tracked the funding sources of these media. Their funding sources are very complicated, involving hundreds of thousands of companies, many of which are secret money laundering accounts. I suspect that there is a huge family or interest group behind this, that secretly planned this. The military intelligence department is still continuing to investigate and screen. But the target sample is too large, and we need time. Old Prime Minister NK also nodded. Dayren is right. The person behind this is a master who is proficient in power politics, and can play with people's hearts. He also knows the government's attitude very well, so the black hand behind this is someone inside our government. Chapter 628 Reactions from all parties. The words of the old Prime Minister NK made everyone in the room fall into deep thought. As the saying goes, it is difficult to guard against thieves within the family, and the threat from within is the most terrifying. Especially this kind of ambitious person who is powerful but very hidden. Qin Zhi was anxious. My lords, are we just going to let these people stir up trouble in the country without having a way to punish them? Qin Jaina also said, Royal brother, my lords, I think the most urgent task now is to save people. Can't we rescue people and then find a way to slowly find the mastermind behind the scenes? Old Prime Minister NK stroked his beard, squinted at Qin Jaina, and said, little girl, you are too naive. If the success rate of this rescue is less than 1 in 10,000, if we don't find out the mastermind behind the scenes, there is not even this 1 in 10,000 possibility that Chen has been against the Empire's military and intelligence departments since she was sensible. How could she be so easy to catch? But the fact is that she was easily captured by the Northern Empire. Have you ever thought about why this is? That's because someone in our country took the initiative to provide information to the other party. If we don't find out the mastermind first, the Northern Empire will know in advance about any rescue operations we have, and we will have no chance of winning at that time. Qin Jaina fell silent again. Although she was extremely anxious, she was not stupid. She knew that Prime Minister NK was right. Well, Lord NK, since you have said this, you must have made some plans in mind. Don't keep His Majesty and Princess Crossing in suspense, said the Great Elder Qin Yuanshan. Prime Minister NK took a sip of water and spoke calmly. Since the last time Chenzinger was attacked, I have started to pay attention to this matter. I have some guesses about the mastermind behind it. For the rest, we have to lure the snake out of its hole. But for this matter, I have to trouble Her Royal Highness Princess Crossing. Prime Minister NK said this, and gave Qin Jaina a questioning look. It's up to the Prime Minister to arrange it. At the cabinet meeting tomorrow, someone will definitely challenge your majesty about the matter of Chenzinger. The first person who raised it, although not necessarily the mastermind, is definitely a participant. Then, Princess Crossing will explain the matter of Chenzinger in the court. By then, those who still raise unreasonable doubts or want to lead the rhythm are basically also participants. Next we will discuss the issue of whether to rescue. Please do not express your opinions. Everyone present, and then we will see who will jump out to obstruct. When the time comes, we will see who these people are, and we will be able to judge which group they belong to, and the leader of this group is probably the black hand behind the scenes. Great, really great. The Prime Minister's experience are really a valuable asset to our galactic empire. Emperor Qin Zhi exclaimed sincerely. Little girl, I have one more thing to say. If you want to rescue Chen Tingting, the empire cannot provide you with any help. Apart from the media and public opinion diplomacy, we can't do anything. Please understand. Because this kind of thing, that is obviously going to die, we really can't explain it to the people, nor can we explain it to the military officers. Do you understand what I said? Qin Jaina nodded dejectedly. She knew that this matter was too difficult for the Galaxy Empire government. If she insisted on it, it would bring great losses to the empire, and the pressure from all aspects of the empire would be very huge. NK smiled and said, but if Crossing Gong took the initiative to use his own power and connections to rescue Chenzinger, I think neither His Majesty nor His Excellency the Grand Marshal would obstruct it, right? Qin Jaina's eyes lit up, and she looked at Emperor Qin Zhi. The Emperor thought for a moment and nodded. Grand Marshal von Bismarck also nodded in agreement. Xingchen was very grateful. This was tacit consent for her to rescue, but only in the name of a private person, not in the name of the Empire. But the Galactic Empire and the military will provide convenience and help. Thank you, Your Majesty and all the adults for your help. I will do my best to help the Empire solve this problem. Little girl, there is one thing you need to know. Why can't the relevant departments of the Empire come forward in this matter? This is not just a matter of responsibility and pressure faced by the Empire. It's that we don't know who our opponents are and how powerful those behind the scenes are. Maybe the military and even some important departments have been infiltrated by them. So if these departments are dispatched, these insiders will not be idle. So, Princess Crossing, you have to secretly find someone you trust to participate in the rescue operation. There are 2 other things you need to do. First, tomorrow in the court, you must argue with reason and strongly demand that the Empire send troops to participate in the rescue. You can use all kinds of means, even scold us, and scold Your Majesty. We and Your Majesty will also cooperate with you to play this drama well. But you may suffer a little grievance, or even be driven out of the court. The purpose of doing this is to lure the snake out of its hole. Those who are most opposed to sending troops are our targets. The more fierce you make a fuss, the more thoroughly your opponent will be exposed. No problem. For the benefit and safety of the Empire, I will suffer a little injustice and lose face. I will play this scene seriously. Xingchen answered firmly. In the end, your proposal will be rejected. You can find helpers, but you must find them secretly, and don't mobilize a large number of people. I think that at this time, there must be people you are not familiar with who want to join the rescue operation. You must remember not to let them participate, and report to me, Lord Day or His Majesty immediately. This person must be an insider, or even sent by the mastermind. Take him with you, and all your actions will be completely under their surveillance. I understand, Prime Minister. Northern Empire, Bakel, Temeral. As the saying goes, a cunning rabbit has 3 burrows. Popovich and the other 3 have their own footholds and industries on many planets in the Northern Empire. The 3 also have many industries on Temeral, such as the manor where they stayed, which belongs to Popovich. But the 3 are still used to living together. Arriving here, Admiral Vitus went to Siberia to report the chosen organization to Emperor Nicholas, and the rest of the Second Fleet was busy looking for and clearing out the remnants of the chosen organization. So they did not come to harass the 3 masters. The 3 of them had a relatively comfortable life recently. Chapter 629 Reactions from all parties. Xia Xingchen and others were not idle either. In addition to seizing the time for special training, Xia Xingchen and Carlos, under the leadership of Popovich, made large purchases in the mecha parts market on Terramal. Although the military supplies of the Northern Empire are now strictly controlled, Xia Xingchen and his team use high-end goods that the military cannot afford. The market supply of these high-end materials and accessories is still very abundant. Besides, for an S-class mecha master like Popovich, nothing is in limited supply. As long as the materials he wants to buy are available in the market, he can buy them. And Popovich also has a warehouse here. There are also many accessories and materials collected in it, which are all cheap for Xia Xingchen. Xia Xingchen used these materials to repair the severely damaged Thor's Wings mecha. In view of this battle, he also made some improvements to the mecha. The weapon system of the Thor's Wings mecha is still too biased towards medium range and short range combat. If it was against an opponent with a lower level than her, it would be nothing. But if Nina encountered a mecha master with a higher level than her, or was surrounded by a large number of mecha masters of the same level as her this time, it would be easy to fall into danger in close combat with the opponent, and Xia Xingchen would never allow such a thing to happen again. So Xia Xingchen installed 4 heavy electro-optical laser cannons on the Thor's Wing mecha. This is a kind of equipment that integrates power generation devices and laser cannons. It uses a lot of Manco people's technology. He and Carlos designed and manufactured it together. The laser fired from this electro-optical laser cannon is also attached with a large number of charged particles. This charged particle makes the power of the laser 3 times greater than that of ordinary lasers. Moreover, this laser has a strong impact force and can destroy the balance of the opponent's mecha. If the charged particles are blocked by equipment such as alloy shields, the charged particles will be released, affecting the work of the electrical components on the mecha, which is fatal to the mecha. When hitting the light energy shield system or the mental shield, it will cause system overload and cause serious consequences. The cost of each of these 4 electro-optical laser cannons is more than 1 billion star coins, just for the material cost, and many processes cannot be achieved with the current human manufacturing level. Many core components were synthesized by Colossus in the artificial intelligence space. For inner safety, Xia Xingchen spent a lot of money. Just after finishing these things, Xia Xingchen saw the report about Chen Tingting in the Northern Empire. After learning the news, Xia Xingchen locked himself in the room and asked Carlos to collect relevant information with all his strength. In the end, Xia Xingchen confirmed that Chen Tingting was indeed captured by the Northern Empire. Xia Xingchen didn't know why Chen Tingting came to the Northern Empire, but what he could be sure of was that Chen Tingting was definitely not here to negotiate with the Northern Empire government. Xia Xingchen was also born as a miner, and only people born as miners could understand the hatred of the miners for the Northern Empire and Nicholas. Whenever miners were exploited and oppressed, those people would bring up the examples of miners in the Northern Empire to illustrate how good the lives of miners in other regions were. But it is true that their lives are like heaven compared to the miners in the Northern Empire. Therefore, Xia Xingchen firmly believed that Chen Tingting could not negotiate with the Northern Empire, and she must have been captured. The reason why the Northern Empire reported this was to alienate Chen Tingting from the miners in the Galactic Empire. Xia Xingchen thought about it for 3 days and 3 nights, and conducted countless simulations with Carlos, and finally came up with the only way to rescue Chen Tingting. Xia Xingchen found a way to sneak into the building where Chen Tingting was imprisoned, and then summoned the mecha from the mecha space, and escaped in the mecha. Because of Carlos, Xia Xingchen had an advantage in intelligence and information, which was equivalent to opening a god's perspective. Without any of Carlos's ability and the existence of the portable mecha space, Xia Xingchen would not dare to make this decision. The place where Chen Tingting was imprisoned was much more dangerous than a dragon's den and a tiger's lair. Xia Xingchen called a meeting of all the crew members on the ship and announced a decision. Everyone, a friend of mine was captured by the Northern Empire government, and she is being held on the planet Blohinsk in the Baku starfield. Her identity is very special, and I must go to rescue her. This will be a very dangerous and complicated operation. So I decided that Carlos, Ale, Nina, Hugo and Yama, the few of us will take the evil mind to Blohinsk to rescue people. The others will take the Count Dracula back to the Galactic Empire. You can go to Lubenstar and hand over the 2 prisoners to General von Cross, commander of the 3rd Fleet. The general will help you solve Captain Bielsa's identity problem, and then you will be free. Julian and Baum can go back to the Yazi headquarters first, and the others will wait for me to come back on Lubenstar. If I don't have any news for a month, there's no need to wait. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became solemn, and people were confused by the sudden news. Xingchen, you saved my life. I'm grateful for your care along the way. My life is yours. Now that you are in trouble, how can we just stand by and watch? As the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. You can't leave us alone to fight. Captain Belsa was not very satisfied with Xia Xingchen's approach. Yes, brother Xingchen, the 3 of us brothers and sisters are not weak either. Let us help you. Alessa blinked her big eyes and looked at Xia Xingchen. Xingchen. Several others also expressed their willingness to help. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly and waved his hands. Everyone, listen to me. This time I'm going to carry out a rescue mission, and the target to be rescued is heavily guarded. The difficulty of the operation is greater than the assassination of a high-ranking official of the Northern Empire. Not to mention one more spaceship. Even one more space carrier will not help. We will adopt the method of secret infiltration to rescue people. The more people there are, the greater the risk of exposure. And the most critical point is the 2 captives in the freezer of our ship. They are very important and must be handed over to the relevant departments of the Galactic Empire as soon as possible. What I want to do is a private matter, and the transfer of prisoners is a public matter related to the national justice. I hope you can understand. Captain Belsa was silent. He was convinced by Xia Xingchen's reason. Only Alessa was still a little unhappy and wanted to continue to persuade Xia Xingchen. Brunswick stopped Alessa. Sister, don't make trouble unreasonably. We are not strong enough. If we go, we will only hinder Xia Xingchen. You don't want Xia Xingchen to be distracted to take care of us. Alessa pouted and stopped talking. Brunswick continued, Xingchen, take Rasvan with you. He is much stronger now and has many special abilities, including his mecha, which can help you. Xia Xingchen was also tempted. He looked at Keela, who nodded. Okay, Rasvan will come and help us too. Chapter 630, Enemies meet on a narrow road. Xia Xingchen and the others, who had unified their thinking, said goodbye to Dr. He Yunlin and the other two. In the past few months, the two sides helped each other and fought side by side, and they had forged a deep friendship. Xia Xingchen did not hide what they were going to do next. He took the initiative to ask the three not to help and try to distance themselves from him, because what Xia Xingchen and the others were going to do next might be shocking, and if it was discovered by someone with ulterior motives, it might implicate the three of them. The three old men expressed their understanding, but they were asked to stay for another 3 days. During these 3 days, Popovich and Lester strengthened everyone's mecha driving skills and martial arts, and formulated a training plan for the next stage for them, so that they could train on their own, and consolidate their special training results. Dr. He Yunlin was not idle either. He taught Collis everything he had learned throughout his life, of course, all the things that were not in the books. His notes, experimental reports and other data, as well as various poisons and antidote formulas, have been entered into Carlos' database. Carlos now controls the entire civilian network of the Northern Empire, and he knows more poison formulas and antidotes than He Yunlin. He Yunlin thought he was a genius, but he didn't realize that the person in front of him was an advanced artificial intelligence. In fact, it was not only Dr. He Yunlin who was emptied of his family by Carlos, but also Baum. Needless to say, the formula of explosives can be found on the internet. The most terrifying thing is that Collis can simulate the strength of explosives and even the explosion process. Baum just communicated with him for a while, and when he got up the next day, he found that Carlos had become an explosion expert that he could not catch up with. 3 days later, the day of separation arrived, and the three old men personally sent them to Popovich's space shuttle. Terramil is the capital of the Baikal starfield, and the space station of Terramil is also very large. Since this is also one of the important bases of the Second Fleet of the Northern Empire, the spacecraft entering and leaving the port here must be controlled by the military, so their space shuttle can only dock at a public pier, and Xia Xingchen and others must take the shuttle bus of the space station to the spacecraft maintenance site, where the Evil Thought and Count Dracula are parked. Soon after the shuttle bus rented by Xia Xingchen and his friends drove out, Carlos brought a message: "We are being watched." Xia Xingchen and Keela perked up and observed carefully. Sure enough, they found that in the dense traffic, a magnetic levitation shuttle bus was following closely behind. There is no surveillance inside the car, so I can't confirm the identity of the stalker. According to the optical computer, it is a rented shuttle bus belonging to the space station. Carlos explained. Xia Xingchen frowned. Carlos, let the robots on the Evil Mind and Count Dracula prepare for sailing. Start the spacecraft engines and start preheating, and be ready to set off at any time or even break out. It's already being done. We can set off when we get to the maintenance plant. A few dozen minutes later, they finally arrived at their destination. Everyone quickly got off the shuttle bus, and Xia Xingchen turned on the vehicle's automatic driving system, and the vehicle automatically drove back to the nearest rental point. Everyone quickly entered the dock of the maintenance plant, and the alloy gate leading to the dock was quickly closed. However, before everyone had completely entered the spaceship, the alloy door of the spaceship maintenance plant was actually opened by someone with great force, and 5 people walked in, 4 men and a black-skinned woman. So it's them, the snakes that slipped through the net. Xia Xingchen smiled. Since we let a few of them escape on Tunguska, let's get rid of them now as a gift for the 3 old people. My killing key and slashing anaconda swords are already thirsty, just in time to use them to consecrate them. Miyamoto Kenichi's blood was boiling with fighting spirit. Xia Xingchen and a few others went out to meet them, and Nina led dozens of robot soldiers to guard the door of the spaceship. Who are you, and why are you following us? Xia Xingchen asked knowingly. He was trying to paralyze his opponent. Ha 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 ha. Several people of the Chosen laughed. That little girl, and that vampire, you are the 6 Gemini ghosts, right? How come there are only 3 left? Aren't you going to explain what happened to our brother Anaconda and his men on Gemini? It was Mamba who spoke. This woman had sharp eyes. When Xia Xingchen and others got off the space shuttle at the public dock, she saw a lesser at a glance. So she followed them all the way. The secret experimental base on Hellstar is yours, Brunswick said coldly. After looking at the underground base on Hull Island, Brunswick suddenly remembered the nightmares of several people when they were young. It seems that you are indeed the test subjects who escaped. This time, I'm afraid you can't escape. Mamba exchanged glances with the snake, the VIP and others, and a mystery in their hearts was solved. The snake nodded, and Mamba continued, now I'll give you a chance. Just surrender. Then tell me the whereabouts of Anaconda and the others. Maybe Lord Snake will give you a chance to live. Otherwise, your fate will be worse than death. I will slowly torture you to death with the most powerful snake venom. Xia Xingchen stepped forward and said, are you afraid that the wind will flick your tongue? The Gemini snake you mentioned has already collapsed genetically and turned into a pile of rotten meat. What if it transforms? It still has to die. So it was you who did it. You dared to hurt our people. You will pay the price. Today, you are dead. The snake's throat roared, and it was angry. The anaconda's strength is not even 1/10 of ours. Don't think that you can escape and ascend to heaven if you kill it. Mamba threw down a harsh word. It is common for the crazy people in the snake tribe to scare their opponents before a battle. They like to see their opponents face death in fear. In that case, we have one more thing to confess. We killed more than just the snake on Gemini. We also killed one on the Let's not long ago. Oh, it was accompanied by a half robot. These 2 died miserably, being trampled into snake sauce by the Mecha. Xia Xingchen looked at them and said teasingly, you all have to die today. The snake was completely furious. Chapter 631 Hugo vs Mamba. Seeing that their leader, Lord Snake, was angry, the black woman Mamba approached him in a flattering manner. Lord Snake, I will take care of these guys who are looking for death. Please just watch from the side. You speak better than singing. In front of me, don't talk too much. If you lose, you know the consequences. I don't need trash here, the snake said with a bad face. Mamba, this woman, is naturally dissolute and frivolous. In the eyes of the snake, she has no real ability at all. But she always pretends to be very capable and smart in front of everyone. She often uses the name of the snake to bully others. There is no way to let her be responsible for the intelligence work of the snake department. Among the cadres of the snake department, the second python is a guy with strong limbs and a simple mind. It is difficult to let him use his brain, and it seems that he doesn't have that kind of organ. The third VIP is his deputy, who is busy all day long and has no time to manage intelligence work. The fourth VIP is responsible for training the special forces of the Chosen One's arms, and he can't spare time to manage intelligence work. The 2 guys, Anaconda and Boa, were even more arrogant and stupid than Mamba. The snakes had no choice but to hand over the intelligence work to this woman. As a result, they all saw that the base of the snake tribe was destroyed, but they did not get any news in advance. Boa and Anaconda were killed, and their intelligence department did not find any clues. The snake was very dissatisfied with the performance of this woman. It was not a joke. If Mamba lost this time, but did not die, the snake would kill it personally. Mamba took off a pair of alloy double forks from his waist. Each of the alloy double forks had 3 spikes, about half a meter long. The 6 spikes of the double forks were cold and glittering, and they were coated with strong snake venom. It seems that applying poison on weapons is the tradition of the Chosen organization. Miyamoto-Jan raised his knife and was about to rush forward, but was stopped by Yugo. Mr. Miyamoto, I'm very interested in the short weapon she used. Let me have this one. Miyamoto nodded, and Yugo pulled out the 2 daggers that Miyamoto made for him. Yugo found that the 2 daggers were much harder than the ones he used before. With such weapons in hand, the broken gold art can exert its greatest power. Yugo couldn't let go of the 2 daggers and carried them with him all day. Today, the weapons can finally see blood. Xia Xingchen came over and handed Wu Go a pill. Put it under the tip of your tongue, and within half an hour, no snake venom can do anything to you. This is the special antidote prepared by Dr. Hyunlin. Wu Go took the pill and put it in his mouth. The faces of the several basilisks on the opposite side turned green with anger. If this is really the antidote prepared by Dr. Hyunlin as Xia Xingchen said, then the effect can be guaranteed without a doubt, which is equivalent to destroying the greatest reliance of several basilisks. Mamba made a few flowers with the forks in both hands and rushed forward. After the genetic modification, it found that its strength increased several times, and its body flexibility and speed also greatly increased. It can even shrink its body into a ball like a snake. Facing Yugo, it was full of confidence. The alloy steel fork in its left hand pierced Yugo's forehead. Its movements were smooth and fast like a meteor. This move was fierce and full of murderous intent. The steel fork in its right hand quietly slashed towards Yugo's lower abdomen. This move was really insidious. The momentum of the fork in its left hand was deliberately created by it. The purpose was to make Yugo block with a two-handed dagger, so that the steel fork in its right hand would cut open Yugo's belly. If Yugo used a one-handed dagger to resist, it would be impossible for Yugo's strength to compete with it. Mamba's calculations were crackling in his mind, and the two weapons collided in mid-air, making a crisp sound. Mamba thought to himself that it was not good, and a huge force came from its left hand, shaking its arm numb. The Terami people themselves are several times stronger than humans, and Yugo has been exposed to human martial arts for many years, so his strength has increased. Moreover, there are many more reasonable ways to use strength in human martial arts. In Yugo's view, Mamba's strength was nothing but a drizzle. The steel fork that was stabbing at his lower abdomen was also blocked by the dagger in Yugo's right hand. Mamba was shocked, but before he could figure out what was going on, Yugo's right leg kicked Mamba's lower abdomen with a whistling sound. His movements were too fast, and Mamba could not avoid this fatal blow at all. Even after genetic modification, the lower abdomen was a vital part. If she was kicked, she would be seriously injured if she didn't die. In a flash, Mamba used her talent to quickly adjust her body, while keeping her upper body still. Her waist twisted 180 degrees, and the place where Yugo kicked turned from the lower abdomen to the lower back. Bang! Ah! With a sound, Mamba's body flew out, and Yugo's kick hit her lower back firmly, kicking her 7 or 8 meters away, and falling heavily to the ground. Fortunately, Mamba is a genetically modified snake, and his waist muscles are very strong. If it were someone else, this kick would break his lumbar vertebrae. Despite this, Mamba lay on the ground, panting for a long time, before he stood up again. This kick really hurt. It was heart-wrenching. Stupid, you are no match for him. Quickly transform. VIP reminded on the side. The snake next to him had already surged with a strong killing intent in his heart. Now no matter what the result is, it doesn't want to let this stupid woman go. Mamba also knew that it was at the critical moment of life and death. If it didn't transform, it would have no chance of winning. I saw that the surface of Mamba's body changed, and many fine gray scales slowly emerged, completely covering its body. 2 fangs spewed out of its mouth, and a pair of sharp fangs and a black snake tongue were revealed in its slightly opened mouth. After the transformation, Mamba's momentum was completely different. Its legs kicked the ground fiercely, and its body was ejected like a spring. Come on. Yugo cheered up, and the two fought together. Now Yugo can feel that Mamba's strength, speed and ability to resist attacks have greatly improved after the transformation. Xia Xingchen and others who were watching the battle on the side secretly gave Yugo a thumbs up. This guy has improved again. The martial arts master Lester taught Yugo the extremely fierce martial arts of Bajikwan, which is simply tailor-made for the Terami people. In the past Yugo's battles were mainly based on the broken gold Ju and the traditional martial arts of the Terami people. Now, he has integrated the moves of Bajikwan into it. Now Yugo's fighting style is seamless and powerful. Although Mamba's strength has increased dramatically after the transformation, she is not a successful transformer. Her rationality is gone now, and she is completely dominated by the instinct of snakes. But Yugo likes this kind of opponent more. Now he feels like fighting against a beast. It seems to have returned to the days of Terami Star. The man and the snake monster fought for hundreds of rounds, but there was no winner. Yugo was a little tired, and the member on the opposite side was not in good condition either. It was kicked dozens of times by Yugo and hit by several elbows. The Terami people have hard keratin spurs on their elbows and knees. Being hit by them is no easier than being stabbed by a knife. At this time, Xia Xingchen shouted from the side, "Yugo, stop playing, we are in a hurry." Chapter 632 Miyamoto Kenichi vs Python. Hearing Xia Xingchen's urging, Wugo agreed and rushed towards Mamba. Mamba was stunned at first. The human in front of him had been dodging most of the time after he transformed. He didn't dare to confront him head on. Instead, he cleverly dodged his attacks and then launched a sneak attack. Although the power of his sneak attack was limited, it also gave Mamba a headache. Now seeing that he actually came to die on his own initiative, Mamba was very happy. The snake monster held the alloy steel fork tightly with both hands, exerted force on his legs, and his body suddenly ejected, and the steel fork pierced Wugo's chest. Oh, Wugo. Be careful. In the eyes of most people, the two alloy steel forks had actually pierced Wugo's chest. Everyone exclaimed in unison. But only a very few people saw the truth. The imagined bloody scene did not appear, because Mamba stabbed only a residual image. Yugo lightly jumped to the side, and dodged Mamba's attack flexibly. He tapped his feet lightly, and flew into the air. He exerted force on his waist and abdomen, and swung his arms behind him. All his strength was applied to the daggers in his hands. Broken gold technique. Windmill. The tips of the two daggers touched each other, and hit Mamba's cervical vertebra fiercely. Kabe. With a crisp sound, Mamba's cervical vertebra was broken. As the saying goes, you should hit the snake at the 3-inch and 7-inch points. These 3 inches are the cervical vertebrae of the snake. Generally, if the snake is broken here, it will be paralyzed. Not only snakes, but any animal, including humans, will not be able to move if their cervical vertebrae are broken. Mamba collapsed to the ground, and the alloy double fork in his hand also fell out of his hand. His body twisted and twitched on the ground. This was a manifestation of severe injury to the nervous system. Yugo stepped forward and kicked Mamba's body into the air. It landed in front of Snake and others. Before the snake could speak, the python couldn't stand it anymore. The behavior of these people was simply a naked provocation. Thinking of this, it walked out and transformed while walking. Its height reached more than 3 meters and nearly 4 meters. Its arms and legs were much thicker, and dark green shiny scales appeared on its body. The python untied the 2 alloy iron chains that were almost as thick as human arms and more than 2 meters long. Xia Xingchen and others thought that thing was a decoration at first. Who knew it was a weapon? Mamba was still struggling on the ground, but the twitching of her body was the instinct of her nerves, and she couldn't receive any signals from the brain at all. The pain caused by the broken cervical vertebrae made it unbearable. She was making her last struggle. The python walked forward, raised his foot, and stepped down hard, just like stepping on a rotten watermelon. The brain matter scattered and shattered, ending Mamba's pain. Clatter, clatter. The alloy chains dragged on the ground, making a sound like hell. Yugo raised his knife, and was on guard. Mr. Yugo, your weapon is too short. You will be at a disadvantage in a fight. Just give it to me. Miyamoto Ken said as he stepped forward. In fact, he was afraid that Yugo would take the opponent for himself. It is not easy to meet an opponent of equal strength who can make him fight to the death with all his strength. Mr. Miyamoto, please. Yugo retreated and took out a piece of cloth from his pocket to wipe the blood on the dagger. He put them back into the scabbard. He was very satisfied with the first battle of these 2 treasures. Miyamoto Ken walked forward with the 2 precious swords, killing Ki and cutting Anaconda, in one hand. The python on the opposite side suddenly felt an extreme discomfort. An uneasy emotion emanated from the blood in the body, and even an emotion that it had not felt for a long time, fear. This is actually a kind of blood pressure. As the pinnacle of the evolution of snake creatures in the Milky Way, the existence of Millet's anaconda is simply a disaster for other snakes. The snake gene in the python's body was awakened, so its body was afraid. This fear is written in the genes of all snakes. Hoo. Python's arms swung, the chain wheel circled, and a small whirlwind blew up on the ground. He wanted to drive away his fear with action. and Miyamoto Kenichi stood there with a knife, making everyone think of the scene of the characters in the game fighting the big boss. Dual sword style, Fire Phoenix Nirvana. A giant firebird that was more than twice the size of the two-sword style firebird emanated a violent flame and pounced on Python. This move was an improved version of the two-sword style firebird after Miyamoto Kenichi's strength increased greatly. The power of the improved Fire Phoenix is 4 to 5 times that of the firebird before the improvement. Python swung the chain in his right hand, creating a gust of wind, and smashed it at the Fire Phoenix. Bang! There was a violent explosion in the air, and the airwaves and shockwaves generated by the explosion made the people around unable to open their eyes. The Python closest to the center of the explosion was the most miserable at this time. The few clothes on his body were burned, revealing his ugly body. The Python was enraged, but before he could react, Miyamoto Kenichi's attack came again. When the weapon master Antonov was instructing Miyamoto Kenichi, he talked about his problem, that his moves were not coherent, and he could not suppress his opponent. Miyamoto wanted to change this, but the habit of almost 40 years was not so easy to change. These habits have become the instinct of fighting, and engraved in the body. Later, it was Master Lester who helped him come up with an idea. He improved Miyamoto's fighting skills, so that he could continuously release several fighting skills together. Although it consumed a lot of energy, the explosive power in a short period of time was still very terrifying. In the past, Miyamoto could not do this. After releasing each fighting skill, he had to rest, and needed time to charge for the next fighting skill. In this way, the fighting skills could not be connected from beginning to end and continuously. However, now, the body transformed by the blood of Milletsi Anaconda has strong recovery ability and even more strength. With a little improvement and rearrangement of his fighting skills, he can release them continuously. Two-sword style. Kuiniu. Miyamoto Kenichi thrust his sword forward, and the two-sword stabbed at the Python like horns. His right leg kicked the ground and shot out like a cannonball. A small pit was actually stepped on the alloy ground, which shows how powerful this kick was. The Python grabbed the two ends of the two chains with both hands, and the chains were stretched straight. It tried hard to hold the two swords out, but this was a luxury. The power of the two swords rushing forward was too great, and it could only barely knock the blades to one side. The blade of the killing Kyang sword slashed at the Python's left arm. The Python didn't think so. He was very confident in the defensive ability of his body and scales. When he often fought with Z and others in the secret base, Z's extremely sharp moon blade could not hurt him at all. In his view, as long as he was not stabbed directly by a fighting skill, there would be no danger. However, the truth was so cruel that the killing Kyang sword easily cut its scales, and blood spurted out. The Python was shocked and quickly stepped back. The muscles on his left arm quickly tightened and clamped the blade, thus avoiding the tragic fate of having his left arm cut off. At this time, Miyamoto Kenichi seized the opportunity and kicked the Python's thigh. The Python only swayed slightly and did not even lose its balance. Miyamoto also frowned. Compared with his swordsmanship, his other martial arts were simply not good enough. Chapter 633 Melee. Miyamoto continued to attack. Two-sword style, wind, and fire wheels. Miyamoto's body turned, and the two-sword slashed at the Python like a chainsaw. The Python tried very hard to parry, but he had no way. Its weapons were not good at parrying, and its proud physical advantage of being invulnerable to swords and guns disappeared in front of Miyamoto Kenichi's sword that killed snakes and cut snakes. Under Miyamoto Kenichi's fierce sword skills, the Python was a little unable to parry. He gritted his teeth and hardened his heart. Despite being hit by Miyamoto Kenichi's sword on his thigh, he kicked the ground with his legs and shot out backwards. He jumped back more than 4 meters and distanced himself from Miyamoto Kenichi. The alloy chain was soft, and it was too strenuous to use it to block weapons such as swords. The Python decided to attack instead of defend, and swung his arms, and the chain was whistling in the wind, attacking Miyamoto. The Python was nearly 4 meters tall, and its wingspan was 3.4 meters. With two 2-meter long alloy chains, the shadow of the chains covered the area of 4 or 5 meters. There was no doubt that, if it was hit by the chains, it would be crushed to pieces. Miyamoto Kenichi tried to block with his sword, but the alloy chain itself weighed hundreds of kilograms, and it was even more powerful when swung. The two swords and the chains collided with each other, sparks flew, and Miyamoto Kenichi felt his arms numb, and the two swords almost slipped out of his hands. Don't fight head on. Miyamoto Kenichi quickly made up his mind. Two sword style. Phoenix Nirvana. Another fire phoenix condensed from the sword energy attacked the python, but this time, the fire phoenix was blown up from a distance. Even the shock wave of the explosion did not cause any effect. The python rushed out of the flames and continued to attack Miyamoto, and Miyamoto Kenichi fell into a hard fight. Seeing that the python had the upper hand and Xia Xingchen and others were anxious, the snake's eyes lit up. This is a good opportunity. Transform. Let's go together, make a concerted effort, and fight quickly. Following the order of the snake, several genetic modifiers began to transform and took out their weapons. From the appearance of each of them after transformation, it can be judged which snake gene each of them has merged. The pit viper now showed yellow-brown markings on its body, and its scales were large and diamond-shaped. This is the gene of a pit viper. The viper looks similar to the pit viper, but the difference is that the pit viper has two pointed horns on its head, which looks very creepy. It is not a good omen for a snake to have horns, but it is very scary. Ancient people regarded seeing a snake with horns as a symbol of snake disaster. He merged with the gene of a horned viper, and the appearance of the snake is also very obvious, with a wide head and smooth scales. The gene it merged is the gene of the king of snakes on earth, the king cobra. The weapons of the three people are also unique. The pit viper uses a pair of sickles, both sides of which are sharp blades. The viper did not use the rope dart this time, but took out three cylindrical objects about 70 centimeters long from the bag behind him, and twisted them together. This combination turned out to be a spear. The snake also took out its weapon, a whip about 2 meters long. The difference between this whip and others is that it is covered with tiny spikes. These spikes glow with various colors, and it seems that they are coated with a variety of snake venom. Once it sweeps, you will be poisoned by several kinds of snake venom at the same time, and even gods can't save you. Xia Xingchen and others also drew out their weapons and prepared to fight. Xia Xingchen drew out the Ningfeng sword and wanted to rush towards the snake, but was stopped by Carlos. Xingchen, this monster's weapon is weird. It is estimated that you will be poisoned if you touch it. Even if there is an antidote, it will be troublesome. And I used X-ray to see through it. It has a lot of hidden weapons on its body. Leave it to me. The poison has no effect on me. Xia Xingchen nodded, raised his sword, and turned to fight with the viper. The remaining viper suddenly became a hot commodity, and a lot of people wanted to fight it. Yugo, Yangma and Keelan, who had been depressed for the past few months and needed to vent, were eager to try. However, before they could make a move, a black shadow pounced out. Damn it, Rusfan, you dare to steal my prey. This is intolerable. Keelan complained, and was very depressed. Who made Rusfan faster than him now? Humph, the Earl of the Blood Clan. I have dealt with you many times, and you will not be one more today. Die. Viper's words were not exaggerated at all. The Chosen Organization has been established for decades. Every 3 years, the Chosen Organization will hold a general meeting. At that time, all departments of the Chosen Organization will gather at their headquarters for a meeting. At such a meeting, of course, it is inevitable to compete in martial arts to establish the status of each department in the Chosen Organization. This kind of competition is very important. It can directly determine the distribution of interests among the departments in the organization. This kind of competition is very tragic. Basically, it is a fight to the death, and the mortality rate is extremely high. There is a demon division in the Chosen Organization. All members of this demon division are vampires and some alien races. In short, there is no human. The leader of the demon division is said to have reached the strength of a marquis. The blood barons and viscounts in the demon division are their backbone. Viper has fought with the viscounts of the demon division many times, and is very familiar with their strength and combat methods. The blood clan rarely uses weapons. They are very confident in their claws and speed. Viper's way to deal with them is to roll up the spear and use it as a stick. This spear is not hollow, but solid. The Blood Clan is hit by it, and the bones and tendons are broken. However, the Blood Clan in front of him is not an ordinary Blood Clan. This is a Blood Clan that has evolved naturally, and has drunk the blood of Meletz's beard. The growth of Blood Clans is also related to the quality of blood they absorbed during the evolution process. Generally speaking, the higher the energy in the blood used during evolution, the better the growth of the Blood Clan, and the higher the quantity and quality of the original blood produced. This is the same as for humans. If one of them grew up eating beef and milk and the other grew up eating bran and porridge, their physical qualities will be very different after they grow up. Rusvan is such a vampire. What's more terrifying is that he actually learned the human martial arts, Eagle Claw. Although most vampires have some fighting skills, they are too dependent on their own bodies, so no vampire has ever been exposed to such advanced human martial arts. This time, Lester had an idea and taught Eagle Claw to Rusvan, which unexpectedly achieved unexpected results. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 634, Killing the Vampire. Vampire, holding a solid spear, started a fierce battle with the vampire Rusvan. Vampire was a little dumbfounded. Most vampires don't like close combat. They like to keep a certain distance from their opponents, then use their own speed advantage to speed up and get close, and then leave with one strike. This way of fighting is just restrained by weapons like spears. Spears can keep distance, and the spearhead is very flexible and fast. However, the vampire in front of him didn't do that. He actually used a close combat method. This is also the feature of Eagle Claw. So Vampire was in a tragedy. Because it was already close to the opponent, it couldn't keep distance at all. The spear in its hand became a fire stick and could only be used to hit people. And because it was too close, it was very difficult to hit Rusvan, and it couldn't use any strength at all. But Rusvan was like a fish in water at close range. After its claws were sharpened, they became extremely hard and its nails grew out. In this state, Rusvan could lift objects weighing more than a ton with one hand. You can imagine how powerful this pair of claws is. Vampire was not careful, and the clothes and skin on his left arm were torn open by the claws of Rusvan's right hand. If it were not for the protection of the hard scales, the flesh on the arm of an ordinary human would be torn off. Even so, its scales were torn off, and blood flowed out along two bloodstains. The more terrible thing is still to come. Vampire was not careful, and the spear in his hand was caught by Rusvan's claws. This time, it felt that the spear in its hand was like being caught by the arm of a mecha, and it didn't move at all. This is impossible. How can the power of the blood count be so great? Vampire's heart was broken, but he didn't dare to relax his hands at all. The two of them were like people who fell into the water and grabbed a lifebuoy, holding on tightly and refusing to let go. The upper limbs of the two were used to fight for the spear, but the lower body was not idle at all. The forelegs of the two fiercely kicked and blocked each other. If you want to see what a shadowless leg is, this is probably it. As vampires, they don't use their legs to fight, but their agility and speed are inseparable from their strong and powerful legs. After a long time, the vampire felt that his legs were almost numb, so he relaxed the strength in his hands. He put more energy on his feet. Rusvan keenly sensed this, so he quietly loosened one hand. But the vampire, who was already in a panic, didn't notice this. When he found out, it was too late, and a sharp claw pierced into his eyes. Ah, my eyes. The vampire let go of the spear in his hand, and covered his eyes with his hands. Although snakes have poor eyesight, and can rely on the temperature sensing organs in their cheek pits to find their targets, it is obvious that the vampire has not fully mastered this skill. Moreover, the severe pain now has made it lose its mind. The next second, Rusvan swung the spear in his hand and pierced through the vampire's mouth. The spear pierced through the back of its head and killed it on the spot. As the saying goes, brothers are connected by heart. Vampire and Vampire are a pair of brothers. The tragic death of his younger brother caused a flaw in Vampire's moves while he was fighting with Xia Xingchen. The two sickles in Vampire's hands were tricky, and so was Xia Xingchen. He used the ice sword technique he learned from martial arts master Xiumo on Gemini. The characteristics of this sword technique are tricky and strange, not taking the usual path, and accompanied by the release of ice sword energy, it can delay the opponent. The two were fighting fiercely, and VIP was killed over there. VIP's heart was suddenly confused, his moves were also messed up, and his steps were also disrupted. Xia Xingchen suddenly changed his moves. Broken water sword. Cut the stars and the moon. Xia Xingchen's originally agile sword suddenly slashed down in the air with great determination. This sword carried a certain law between heaven and earth, and it was magnificent. If VIP's heart was not confused, it could dodge this sword, but now, its heart was confused, which directly affected its judgment. When it found that this sword was actually different from the previous move, it was too late. The Ningfeng sword was extremely solid and indestructible. Combined with the mysterious water-breaking sword technique, it was not something that two sharp sickles could stop. The sword violently cut the two sickles and the VIP in half, splitting them neatly in the middle. Xia Xingchen slashed the sword and quickly drew his sword to dodge. At this time, the VIP's body exploded from the middle to both sides. Blood splattered everywhere, and the internal organs were scattered all over the ground. It's great. Xia Xingchen looked at the Ningfeng sword in his hand, which was not stained with even a drop of blood. But at this time, it was more concerned about Carlos, who was fighting with the snake. Now the most depressed one is the snake. Although it is very powerful, although it carries a large number of hidden weapons, and although its weapons have a variety of blood-killing poisons, this is all for the opponent, who is a human. The one in front of it is not a human at all, nor is it a person with full body mechanical prosthesis as it looks. Its opponent was the result of hundreds of millions of years of technology of the Manco people, a robot with extremely powerful functions. In order to create these two clones, Carlos spared no expense and used a large amount of precious materials on his body. Moreover, Carlos was willing to use black technology in his clone and install various advanced weapons. For a living creature, no matter how powerful it is not as big as a machine of the same size. The snake started by waving a long whip and laid with countless poisonous stings and hitting Carlos. But Carlos did not dodge or evade this terrible weapon, and the whip could not even leave a shallow mark on his shell. The snake changed its strategy, and the long whip in its hand was used to wrap around Carlos' legs. It used its arms to force Carlos to fall. However, the robot's legs were as motionless as if nailed to the ground. Carlos reached out and grabbed the other end of the whip. The huge power released from his body caused the snake's body to stagger, and the whip in his hand slipped out of his hand. Carlos grabbed the whip with both hands, and when he exerted force with his arms, the whip was tightened. He exerted force again, and with a click, the long whip made of special alloy was torn off. The snake was shocked. Its long whip was specially customized, and could lift a truck weighing more than 10 tons, but it was torn off by this guy. His strength was simply unmatched by living creatures. Thinking of this, the snake stepped back 2 steps and took out 2 pistols from his hands, aiming at Carlos. Its movements were extremely fast, but in the eyes of Carlos's ultra high-speed camera, it was a slow motion shot that was slowed down many times. Every movement trajectory of the snake and every tiny muscle movement in its body were captured by the camera. After Carlos's ultra-fast calculation, the movement trajectory of the muzzle and the bullet was completely calculated. Ping. The sound of a gunshot like popping beans rang out. Although the gun was very powerful and could not hurt Carlos, even if it hit him directly, Carlos was not willing to passively take the beating. He swung his body very slightly, and the 20 bullets from the 2 guns were used up, but not a single bullet hit Carlos. Chapter 635 Carlos's Black Technology. The snake was about to collapse. The enemy in front of it was an enemy that could not be defeated at all. It used up all the bullets in its gun and turned to run. You want to run away after you finished shooting? There is no such cheap thing in this world. It's my turn to perform. Look at my demon's left hand. Carlos' words stunned Xia Xingchen and the others. The demon's left hand is a lesser's unique skill. When did Carlos learn this trick? Carlos' next move made everyone drop their jaws. He actually took off his left hand and stretched his wrist towards the escaping snake. At this time, the snake had already run away for dozens of meters. Both of Colossus' clones used a lot of precious space materials, so that Carlos could use his clones to take things out of his artificial intelligence space and Xia Xingchen's portable mecha space at any time. While improving his body again and again, Carlos unexpectedly discovered that artificial intelligence space weapons and equipment, even if part of it is in the space and the other part is outside the artificial intelligence space, can still function normally. This discovery made Carlos feel like he had found a treasure. When Xia Xingchen was transforming Elisa's left-hand demon mecha, Carlos got an inspiration. He installed a piece of precious space material on his wrist and specially opened up several small spaces in the portable intelligence space to place weapon systems. 3 cubic meters of space can already hold many kinds of weapons. First, a machine gun barrel stretched out from the wrist, and the muzzle was aimed at the fleeing snake and poured fire. This is a light machine gun with a small caliber and limited power. It can injure the snake, but cannot kill it at once. The snake was overturned to the ground by hundreds of bullets per minute, and its body was covered with wounds. Although it didn't die, it could no longer run. Everyone was dumbfounded. Hundreds of bullets were fired in just a few tens of seconds. Except for Xia Xingchen, no one knew how so many bullets were stuffed into Carlos's arm. The size of weapons has always been a major problem that restricts the power of mechas and robots. Putting all the weapons together, ammunition, and energy sources together will make the machine itself tall and bulky. If this problem is solved, the technological level of the entire human race will be greatly improved. The snake fell to the ground and struggled to stand up, but the impact of the bullet broke its left leg, and it became a luxury to stand up. Alas, the power of this light machine gun is too small. How about trying this? Carlos said, and stretched out a cylindrical object from his left wrist. The snake was completely desperate. The cylindrical object turned out to be the barrel of a small Gatling machine gun. 6 barrels were integrated together. The electric motor started to work, and the barrels rotated at high speed. Carlos, don't make too much noise, and make a quick decision, Xia Xingchen reminded. Although the spaceship repair factory is a closed space and the monitoring system is also controlled by Carlos, if the Gatling machine gun really opens fire, it will make a lot of noise. Okay, I'll listen to you. Carlos retracted the gun barrel. Elisa and the others felt very sorry and expressed their desire to see the performance of using a Gatling machine gun to shoot mincemeat. The snake also breathed a sigh of relief. At least he could die decently, and maybe he could keep a whole body. However, soon, greater despair surged into his heart. This time, a cylindrical gun barrel stretched out from Carlos' wrist. The mecha masters present all recognized that this was a small mecha laser rapid fire cannon. But the so-called small size is for mechas. For humans, this caliber is not a joke. The next second, a green laser was fired, and the snake lying on the ground was instantly burned into black charcoal by the high temperature of the laser. Carlos calculated the energy of the laser cannon perfectly, just enough to completely burn the snake's body. At this time, the battle was basically over, except for the clanging sound coming from the distance from time to time. Miyamoto Kenichi was still fighting with the python. Everyone picked up their weapons and wanted to go up to help, but was stopped by Yugo and Xia Xingchen. Yugo began to explain, "Everyone, please be patient and don't take action. Right now, Miyamoto and his enemy are evenly matched, but his enemy does not have the ability to kill Miyamoto Kenichi, and he has no physical problems either. This is a good opportunity for Miyamoto, and he needs such an opportunity to digest what he has learned recently." Everyone stopped and continued to stare at the fight between the two. Carlos raised his left hand, and the small laser rapid fire cannon in his hand was aimed at Python. Once Kenichi Miyamoto had an accident, the laser would kill Python instantly. While fighting, Kenichi Miyamoto's brain was working quickly, searching his mind for good strategies to defeat the enemy. Now he has exhausted all his tricks. He has used almost all the fighting skills he could, but he couldn't hurt his opponent. And if he fought head on, after all, the size of his opponent was there, and he would be at a great disadvantage in terms of strength. The 2 alloy chains in Python's hands seemed to be made of very good materials. If they were made of ordinary materials, they would have been destroyed by Kenichi Miyamoto's double swords and fighting skills. Suddenly, his mind emerged the situation when he was fighting with Antonov, and the opponent used a knife to force him so that he couldn't draw his knife at all. There is a way. In the spaceport of the capital of Terramore, Bakel Starfield, Northern Empire, Xia Xingchen and others who were about to leave for Blohinsk Star to rescue people encountered the escaped members of the Snake Division of the Chosen Organization. A fierce battle broke out between the two sides immediately. Now, the battle is coming to an end, and Xia Xingchen and others have won a great victory. Only the battle between Miyamoto Kenichi and Python has not ended. The two thick alloy chains in Python's hands were waving vigorously, and Miyamoto Kenichi was helpless against it. The power gap was too big. Now the area within 4 or 5 meters of Python's body has become a restricted area. Miyamoto Kenichi couldn't get close at all. While fighting, Miyamoto Kenichi racked his brains to think of countermeasures. Suddenly, he recalled the scene when he was fighting with Weapon Master Antonov, and he was suppressed by the opponent and couldn't exert any strength at all, and then looked at the situation in front of him. A flash of inspiration came into Miyamoto Kenichi's mind. Chapter 636, Burning the Corpse and Destroying the Evidence. There is a trick to deal with chained weapons such as iron chains and meteor hammers. When the weapons intersect, the contact point of the weapon should be as close to the proximal end of the weapon user as possible. The weapon travel here is relatively short, and the power of the weapon cannot be exerted, so the power is naturally small. However, there is also a problem here. If the contact point of the weapon is too close to the proximal end, the far end of the weapon will change direction and can still cause damage to the opponent. So how to find a perfect balance between the far and near ends is the key to victory. However, there is another trouble. The opponent uses two chains. If you control this chain, you must also consider the other chain. Antonov said that to control the opponent, you must first observe and find the opponent's rhythm. Yes, it's the rhythm. The iron chain was swung, and the speed, angle, and body movements were all regular. Thinking of this, Miyamoto Kenichi actually closed his eyes, released his mental power, and used his mind to feel the position of the alloy chain. Finally, he found the law of the iron chain dancing. Miyamoto Kenichi moved. His body suddenly shot out, and the anaconda sword in his right hand chopped the chain on the python's right hand. Then he turned around and chopped the anaconda sword on the chain on the python's left hand. The chain that was swinging just now was stopped abruptly. The python was a little confused, and what was happening in front of him was beyond his comprehension. But before it could react, Miyamoto Kenichi's two swords had been raised and chopped down crosswise. Two sword style. Cross-killing slash. An X-shaped sword energy slashed at the python, but because the python was too tall, the sword only chopped at the front of the python's chest, and two nearly 1 meter long cuts were cut on the scales on its chest, and blood gushed out immediately. Ah! The python screamed. It swung the chain in its right hand to hit Miyamoto Kenichi, but Miyamoto Kenichi raised the sword in his right hand, and the python's right arm was removed by the anaconda sword. Ah! I'm going to kill you. The python was completely furious at this time, and at this point it knew it would not survive. But before it dies, it must find someone to take the blame. So, the python used its last desperate means. Second unlock. The python released all the snake genes in its body, which completely devoured and covered the human genes in its body, and it also lost all human consciousness. The mitochondria of its cells frantically released energy, split, and burned all its vitality. Everyone saw that the python's body was constantly getting thicker and longer, and finally turned into a giant python over 20 meters long. A crazy unintelligent beast is much easier to deal with than humans. Although the big python in front of them was very scary, Xia Xingchen and others who had seen the millet's anaconda were not afraid of such things at all. Facing the bucket-sized python head that was rushing towards him, Miyamoto Kenichi easily dodged it. Pythons are not animals that are good at flexibility. They are better at strangling their prey with their bodies and then swallowing them. Then, the python's huge tail swept over. Miyamoto Kenichi soared into the air, his body flying 6 or 7 meters high. The huge python was stunned. How could the prey that was about to be bitten disappear in an instant? At this time, Miyamoto Kenichi in midair did a forward somersault and passed over the python's head. He turned his wrist, squatted down, and pointed the two swords in his hands downward. All his strength and weight were placed on the swords of the two swords. Two-sword style. Reikari. Miyamoto Kenichi's strength, plus the gravity of the earth, was on the tip of the sword. This move was extremely fast and powerful. The two swords pierced into the python's body, hitting the 7 inches. They were deeply sunken, leaving only the two handles outside. The two swords almost pierced the python through. But to be honest, compared to fighting the millet's anaconda, dealing with this python is like dealing with an earthworm. No pressure at all. The 7 inches of the snake is where its heart and some vital organs are located. Although the position of the heart in the snake will change with the shape of the body, it is almost accurate. After hitting the target, Kenichi Miyamoto quickly drew his sword, exerted force with his legs, stepped on the python's belly and jumped back. Blood gushed out of the two huge wounds on the python's 7 inches like a fountain. The python's body twisted back and forth on the ground, struggling, and it was obviously dying. In a short time, all its vitality was gone. A large pool of rotten meat was left on the ground. The situation at this time was the same as the anaconda on Gemini. Its genes collapsed. Carlos stretched out his left hand, and a tube stretched out from his wrist at this time, aiming at the broken meat on the ground. What is this again? Carlos' hacking technology brought great shock to everyone. But soon, they saw the answer. A ball of blazing flame sprayed out of the tube. This is a flamethrower. In the raging fire, the air was filled with the stench of burning biological tissue. Carlos controlled several robots to throw the other corpses into the flames. 5 minutes later, the traces left by the chosen organization's Snake Division were completely wiped out from this world. At this time on the planet Terramol, Popovich, Dr. Hyunlin and Master Lester were discussing their next plan, how to prevent the revenge of the chosen organization, and also to consider how to deal with the upcoming war. They all knew that Admiral Vitus would definitely drag them into the water. Suddenly, a video came from Popovich's personal terminal. What surprised him was that the sender column of this video was blank. The file name of the video was a gift. Popovich connected his personal terminal to the large screen on the wall and clicked the play button. At first it was a close-up, which was Carlos's perspective. Seeing several acquaintances from the Snake Division appear on the screen, the three old gentlemen were shocked. Then there was a fierce battle, and corpses and raging fires. After the video ended, there was a subtitle, "A gift for the three of you." Popovich smiled bitterly. These little friends of ours are not simple. Now the Northern Empire is about to set off a bloody storm again. Chapter 637, The People in the Court. Galaxy Empire, Capital Star Region, Shire Neon Star. At this time, in the Galaxy Empire Administrative Conference Center next to the Imperial Palace, the Galactic Empire Cabinet Plenary Meeting, which is held every 5 days, is being held. The meeting is attended by the heads of various departments of the Galaxy Empire and several deputies, as well as personnel from the military and the Royal Elders Council. At this time, in addition to the staff and royal guards, there are a total of 108 officials in the conference room. The meeting has lasted for more than an hour. After completing the routine agenda, it entered the discussion of special issues. A deputy minister of the Ministry of Education of the Galaxy Empire took the lead in attacking Emperor Qin. The spearhead was directed at Xia Xingchen and Princess Qinjana. Emperor Qin looked at the official meaningfully and said, "Who else has an agenda about this matter? Raise your hand." Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what Emperor Qin's purpose was, so everyone unconsciously looked at the Minister of Agriculture of the Galaxy Empire, Fusei Cirrus. This bunch of indecisive people. Fusei cursed in his heart. But remembering Caesar's instructions, Fusei Cirrus raised his hand first. Seeing someone taking the lead, those people also raised their hands. Although these people's actions happened in a flash, all of this was accurately recorded by dozens of high-definition surveillance cameras densely distributed in this conference room. Emperor Qin continued, "The Ministry of the Interior has already reached a conclusion on this matter. Now, please allow Minister De Yunfei to tell everyone about the Ministry of the Interior's investigation results." De Yunfei read out the conclusion of the Ministry of the Interior without hesitation, and everyone on the scene was in an uproar. Some people openly questioned the accuracy of the Ministry of the Interior's investigation conclusion. This made Dai Yunfei and Emperor Qin Zhi very unhappy. The Ministry of the Interior's investigation results are already very detailed and convincing, but now these people's behavior is a naked slap in the face and provocation. Now that Princess Crossing has arrived at Chaniuan Star, aren't you questioning her? Listen to what she says. Emperor Qin Zhi's face tightened, and the room suddenly fell silent. Not long after, Princess Crossing walked into the conference hall with a worried look on her face and explained Chen Tingting's personality and her speculation to everyone present. Then Qin Jaina proposed that the empire send a secret force to rescue Chen Tingting. Nonsense. Childish. The court was in chaos, and a bunch of people denounced and condemned Princess Crossing's idea. Since the Ministry of the Interior and Princess Crossing have been able to confirm that Chen Xingchen was kidnapped by the Northern Empire instead of betrayal, there is no point in pursuing this matter now. But Qin Jaina's proposal has set up a target for them to unite against the enemy. This is also a major feature of the Galactic Empire Cabinet. Everyone has the right to publish topics, and at the same time, everyone has the right to question topics. The truth is not clear. This kind of debate can provide a good reference for the ruler to make decisions. Among the ministers, the one who took the lead in firing at Qin Jaina was Kehoran, the deputy minister of the Ministry of Education of the Galactic Empire. This person has been in the cabinet for some years, but this person's reputation is not good. He often speaks out in cabinet meetings, especially for those officials without backgrounds. He has always been sarcastic and made things difficult. This is also the reason why this guy has not made any further progress for so many years. The ministers gave this person a nickname, calling him stepping on good people. This guy is a bully who only targets honest people. In human society, there are factions in any group of more than 4 people, especially in the ruling class of each country. The problem of factions is difficult to avoid. There are also various factions in the government of the Galactic Empire, and they form interest groups. Kehoran did not belong to any faction in the cabinet. His actions made people from any faction dare not accept him. This is a piece of rotten meat, and they are afraid to avoid it. Without the support of the faction, it is almost impossible to continue to get promoted and make money. He has been in the cabinet for decades, and seeing that there is no hope of promotion, just when he was discouraged, Fusei Cirrus found him and recruited Kehoran on behalf of their faction. Fusei offered him very generous conditions. Once Fusei ascended to the throne of Prime Minister, he would find a way to get Kehoran promoted to the next level and become the head of a department. In order to show his sincerity, a large sum of money would go into Kehoran's secret account every month. The price Kehoran had to pay was to become a gun in Fusei's hand. He would shoot wherever Fusei pointed. Anyway, he had been bombarding for decades. Kehoran would not be suspected if he attacked anyone in the court. This time, of course, Kehoran had to be the pioneer in attacking Princess Crossing. Princess Crossing, you are too naive. We in the miners are 2 different classes, representing different interests. How can we live together peacefully? Qin Jaina, you are too stubborn and willful. How can you bring your personal feelings into national affairs? Princess Crossing, don't use your temper to harm the soldiers of our Galactic Empire army. Kehoran was an old hand at fighting and attacking. His method of dealing with Princess Crossing was to label her. This is a very common political propaganda and rhetoric, and it is also a typical personal attack. Before others can deeply understand and think about the essence of the matter, the person being attacked is first affected by the negative label on him, and others have a preconceived negative cognition and bad stereotype of him and the matter. Some people are good at putting a hat on their own people and then knocking them off the stage from their standpoint without any reasoning or debate. This is a historical tradition in human beings. Kehoran is even more proficient in this, so he put a lot of hats on Qin Jaina's head right away. Although she was mentally prepared, Qin Jaina, a young girl who was not very experienced in the world, could not bear all this, and she almost collapsed. In addition to Kehoran, many people stood up to add insult to injury. Some people say that politics is the dirtiest thing in the world, and now Princess Crossing has really experienced it. The scene was in chaos, and finally Emperor Qin Zhi slammed the table and announced his decision to rehabilitate Chen Tingting and announce the news that she was detained by the Northern Empire. In addition, the army will not be sent to the Northern Empire for rescue for the time being, but to find ways to put pressure on the Northern Empire in terms of diplomacy and public opinion. Xingchen left the conference hall crying. At this time, the ministers in the hall had different reactions. Some frowned, some laughed, some were very angry, and some looked very calm, but there was a secret smile on the corners of their mouths. All of this was secretly recorded. Chapter 638 Secret Headquarters. Galaxy Empire, Capital Star Region, Xia Star. Not far from the Military Command Academy of the Galaxy Empire, there is a very tall building. This building is more than 60 stories high, but the building itself covers a huge area. This is a newly established software company that is well known throughout the Milky Way. However, all this is superficial, because only a small part of this company conducts normal business externally, and the other departments and staff of this company, including the underground building, that is much larger than its ground area, are affiliated with the intelligence department of the Galaxy Empire, the Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau of the Galaxy Empire, which was established not long ago. On the one hand, the software company is a cover, and on the other hand, its income can also provide funds for the intelligence department. It also takes a lot of money to engage in intelligence. Now, it has been more than 30 hours since the cabinet plenary meeting was held the day before. It has been dark, but this software company is bustling with people coming and going. In the space age, the time difference between the thousands of inhabited planets and the entire Milky Way is very different. Therefore, most interstellar consortiums in this era have 3 sets of people and are open all day. At this time, 2 large magnetic levitation buses stopped at the back door of the building, and more than 20 people dressed in cleaners came down from inside. They passed through the layers of inspection by the building guards, entered the building, and entered a working elevator. The display outside the elevator showed that the elevator went all the way up and stopped at the 58th floor. In fact, the elevator went all the way down and ran underground. In the elevator, several cleaners turned off the camouflage devices on their bodies and restored their true appearance. These people were not cleaners at all, but several giants of the Galactic Empire. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire Qin Zhi, the Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei, the Grand Marshal von Bismarck, the 5-star General Zhang Qinglong, the Great Elder of the Royal Family Qin Yuanshan, and the old Prime Minister Nkei. They came here under the strict protection of more than a dozen guards. After walking out of the elevator, they found that the armed forces and security levels here underground were higher. The security personnel conducted a series of strict inspections on them. After tossing for more than 10 minutes, everyone finally entered the heart of the emerging intelligence department of the Galactic Empire. After verifying their identity, except for the Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei, the others were here for the first time. They were full of curiosity. This is the headquarters of the Military Strategic Intelligence Department of the Galactic Empire. What they saw most along the way were all kinds of robots. Occasionally, people in a hurry and unkempt appearance passed by them. Emperor Qin Zhi and others felt very novel. Wherever they went, they were the focus of people's attention. People would constantly greet them. But here, these people treated them as if they did not exist. Looking at Emperor Qin Zhi's surprised expression, Minister Dai Yunfei smiled bitterly and said, "Your Majesty, Dai Ren's way of employing people is very different. Many of his intelligence personnel are geniuses and are outstanding in a certain field, but there is only a fine line between geniuses and lunatics. The brain structures of geniuses and lunatics are also the most similar. At least half of the people you see here are abnormal if thrown into the crowd. The rest are people with social disorders and are frustrated in their original units. Dai Ren believes that their talents are buried, so he created a stage for them. Why are there so many robots here? Robots can better guarantee loyalty. If there are too many people, safety will be threatened. The huge underground base we are in now is located 200 meters underground. 2/3 of the volume here is a huge central optical computer. The one who manages this optical computer is an intermediate artificial intelligence. We call him Zhuge. Zhuge is responsible for the security and defense of the entire base, intelligence analysis, etc. After listening to Dai Yunfei's introduction, Emperor Qin Zhi nodded repeatedly. It seems that our decision to establish the Strategic Intelligence Department was correct. Dayren did a good job. Everyone continued to walk forward for more than 20 minutes and finally came to a meeting room. Dayren and a strange robot with a funny appearance, who looked like he was wearing a pair of glasses, were waiting there. Dayren pays respects to His Majesty and all the adults. Zuge pays respects to His Majesty and all the adults. Emperor Kinzhi sat down in the main seat, and everyone else sat down in their seats. Dayren walked to the meeting host's position, and he would host today's meeting. Your Majesty, ladies and gentlemen, through our video analysis of yesterday's cabinet plenary meeting, we found some very strange phenomena, from which we have drawn some interesting conclusions. Dayren continued. Dayren, you have never dared to install so many surveillance cameras in the government's conference center. Don't let us down. Minister De Yunfei looked at his grandson and said lovingly, the cabinet plenary meeting of the Galactic Empire involves a lot of state secrets, so all participants must go through strict security checks when entering the conference hall to make sure there are no eavesdropping devices and video devices, and even personal terminals are not allowed to be brought in. There are only 4 cameras in the conference hall, and the recordings of each meeting are kept by the royal elders. These are all state secrets and the confidentiality level is very high. This time, Dayren proposed to install a large number of high-definition and high-speed cameras on the way to the conference center, including in the conference hall, to capture the movements and expressions of each official, and conduct behavioral analysis to find clues. Your Majesty, we found a very interesting phenomenon during the meeting. The main force attacking Princess Kinjana in yesterday's meeting was Kehoran. This deputy minister of the Ministry of Education has always been known for having no factions and daring to fire. But in today's meeting, we found that he looked at someone as many as 78 times. Although his head did not move most of the time, his pupils were facing that direction. In the whole meeting, he only looked at His Majesty 23 times and looked at Princess Crossing 38 times. The most he looked at other people was less than 20 times. The elder Qin Yuanshan questioned, could it be because of the seats? Dayren shook his head. The seating arrangement of our conference hall is a U-shape, and His Majesty and the Prime Minister sit at the opening of the U-shape. Lord Kehoran sat in the 3rd row on the left side of the conference room, and the person he was looking at sat near the bottom of the U-shape, at a 60-degree angle. It can be said that, if you want to see that person, you need to look in the opposite direction, which is not so easy. Even if the person sitting directly opposite that person can see Kehoran, as soon as he looks up, the number of times he looks at him is no more than 40 times. What is more noteworthy is that Lord K always looks at that person every time he is about to fire a cannon. After firing a cannon, he will look at that person again, with a smug look on his face, as if he is asking for credit. Following Dayren's explanation, various close-up shots of Kehoran appeared on the big screen again and again. Recorded by the high-definition camera, every detail was clearly visible. Then the big screen was divided into 2 small screens, and a timeline appeared above the screen. The 2 small screens, one was a close-up of Kehoran's face, and the other was a close-up of a person's hand. At several time points during the meeting, Kehoran would look at that person every time, before he opened fire. And that person's right hand was always on the table, and every time Kehoran looked over, 1 second later, that person's middle finger would flick on the table a few times. Then, Kehoran would attack Princess Crossing. Chapter 639 The Mastermind Found Out. Seeing this, everyone smiled knowingly. They all understood that this was a code. This person sent instructions to Kehoran through such a code. However, what Emperor Kinzhi was more concerned about was who the owner of the hand was. Dayren, don't keep us in suspense. Who is that person? Emperor Kinzhi was a little anxious. Dayren nodded to Zuge, the artificial intelligence robot beside him. The indicator light in Zuge's eyes flashed, and the close-up of the hand was pulled away. The person who appeared in front of everyone was Fusasaurus, the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Agriculture of the Galactic Empire. It turned out to be him. Emperor Kinzhi was surprised. A Minister of Agriculture actually had such power. This was something that Emperor Kinzhi had never expected. It was indeed him. The Old Hand Minister and the Minister of the Interior De Yunfei smiled knowingly. The two old foxes have a very keen sense of smell, and their subordinates are very powerful in collecting intelligence. They already have some clues, and they also have some guesses, but they still need some evidence to prove their guesses. Now, the evidence is indeed there. Dayren continued, now that we know this mysterious man, let's take a look at his wonderful performance. When His Majesty asked if anyone had any other topics about Chenzinger, those who raised their hands later all focused their attention on the Minister of Agriculture. Then Lord Fusei raised his hand first, and the rest of them raised their hands firmly. Prime Minister Nkei said self-deprecatingly, it seems that my successor position is poisonous. People who sit in this position change their hearts, or only ambitious people can sit in this position. Lord Nkei, you don't need to blame yourself. Our Deputy Prime Minister is a thorough ambitious person. His performance behind the scenes is really not like what he showed in the court. There is a lot of evidence. At this time, the big screen showed the scene of the ministers walking into the conference hall. Many of them saw Fusei. Although they did not salute, they all had secret eye contact. The perspective of the machine is indeed different from that of humans. Changing the perspective can see many overlooked details. And the truth is hidden in these details. Dayren explained, it is normal for colleagues to nod and greet each other when they meet. But when Lord Fusei met those who raised their hands with him, he acted very cold. Instead, he nodded and chatted with other people. If we zoom in, we can see that, although Fusei did not say hello to these people, he had a very secret eye contact. This is an attempt to cover up something, which shows that he has something to hide. He did not say hello to these people in order to avoid suspicion. So I concluded that they are a small group. The members of this group are all deputies from various departments. Now we can confirm the identities of 24 people, and we suspect that there are 13 people involved with them. Ping. Emperor Kinzhi slapped the table. But, this group of ambitious people, 1/3 of the entire cabinet has been pulled over by them. If they hadn't been so ugly this time, we really didn't know that there was such a group of thieves in our court. Once these deputies are promoted to the top of various departments, won't our entire country be controlled by them? Whether the decrees issued by me, the emperor, can be implemented, depends on their eyes. It's so abominable. Everyone bowed their heads and said nothing. The people in the conference room are the backbone of the political and military circles of the Galactic Empire. Now, under their noses, nothing but such things is a slap in the face. In addition, our Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau has discovered two other related things. A few months ago, Chenzinger was attacked on the agricultural planet in the south of the Western Administrative Region. The attackers were officers of the local corrupted garrison. According to the investigation of the Ministry of the Interior, there is a hidden big force behind the officer involved. The force provides him with a lot of funds and creates promotion opportunities. Another point to note is that the starfield, where Chenzinger was in trouble, is the traditional sphere of influence of the Cirrus family. And this time, when we were investigating the mastermind behind Chenzinger's forced trip to the north, we finally found that the scholars and media involved had the shadows of these big families behind them. These media have been dominated and controlled by these big families for thousands of years. Among them, there is the Cirrus family. Based on the above clues, our Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau has concluded that the Cirrus family is the mastermind behind this incident. Emperor Kinzhi shook his head. No. What is their motive for doing this? Now Fusei is already the Deputy Prime Minister, and it is a sure thing that he will succeed Lord Nkei in the future. And this small group under him, if there is no accident, will have more people in a few years or more. In this way, he can call the wind and rain in the empire without taking any risks. Why should he go to great lengths and take this risk? This is easy to understand. The agricultural industry of the Cirrus family requires a large amount of cheap labor. The Cirrus family uses billions of miners. The Princess Agreement has greatly increased their employment costs. The Cirrus family has suffered a great loss. So it is normal for them to persecute Chenzinger, said the great elder Qin Yuanshan. Prime Minister Nkei shook his head and added, even if this motive is justified, as far as I know, Fusei Cirrus is a very patient person. Sometimes he is just a little clever, but he definitely doesn't have the ability to strategize. He is now the Minister of Agriculture because of his family's power. He is not capable of planning such a huge and elaborate conspiracy. I suspect there is someone else behind this. The conference room suddenly fell into a deathly silence. While the special cabinet meeting was being held, Princess Xingchen was participating in an activity at the student club of the Royal Military Academy to encourage cadets to actively join the army and serve the country. Although she was in a terrible mood now, it was her duty as a princess, so Xingchen came here with a forced smile. Chapter 640 Cyrus's Family Motives. After a speech was given to hundreds of high-ranking cadets, a dance party began. The main purpose of these young officers to participate in the event was to win the favor of the opposite sex. The dance floor was full of singing and dancing, and it was very lively. Some young officers also plucked up the courage to invite Xingchen to dance with them, but she refused on the grounds of being unwell. Xingchen sat there quietly, thinking about who she should ask to help rescue Xia Xingchen. This was an action to send her to her death. It was difficult to ask anyone to open her mouth. At this time, a voice came. "Your Highness, you seem to have some troubles. I wonder if I can share them with you. Let me help you share them." The voice was magnetic and charming. Xingchen looked up and found that opposite her was a handsome man with a height of nearly 190 centimeters, blonde hair, blue eyes and a high nose bridge. "Who are you?" "Let me introduce myself. I'm Caesar Cyrus. I'm also a graduate of the Royal Military Academy. After graduation, I've been managing my family's business. My father is the Imperial Minister of Agriculture Fusei Cyrus. I'm honored to have the chance to see the princess today." The man was modest and elegant. I believe most women would fall for him. The Cyrus family has made great contributions to our country's food industry. It can be called the pillar of the empire. I'm also very happy to meet you. Xingchen said perfunctorily. "I see that the princess has a sad face. Is it because of Xia Xingchen's arrest?" Xingchen suddenly felt alert. The old Palmerston K had already given her a shot of prevention. If someone showed kindness for no reason, it was very likely that he was a participant in the conspiracy. Thinking of this, she played along and pretended to be very depressed. "Xia Xingchen is my best friend. She sacrificed her life for the miners' cause. This time she fell into Nicholas' hands, and I don't know what kind of torture she will suffer. But you also saw that so many people misunderstood her and did not support her. His Majesty also disagreed with our country sending troops to help her. I know this is very difficult, but..." Xingchen ran away from home many times when she was a child. After struggling outside for more than half a year, she had learned to speak differently to different people. She also secretly turned on the one-way video call function on her personal terminal. And the unique jewel flower on the chest of her dress is not a simple decoration, but a high-definition camera and microphone wirelessly connected to the personal terminal. The other end of the personal terminal is connected to Dayren's secret personal terminal. At this time, the atmosphere in the conference room was very solemn, and everyone was racking their brains to solve the few remaining key problems. At this time, Dayren's personal terminal rang, interrupting everyone's thoughts. It's a one-way video call from Princess Crossing. Let's listen to it. Maybe we'll get something out of it. Artificial intelligence Zooge helped him connect his personal terminal to the large screen on the wall. From it came the handsome face of Caesar Cyrus and the voices of the two talking. "Princess Jaina, we young talents all have the dream of becoming a knight. You've been busy and worried about the empire. We are very touched and are willing to serve you." These words were said with great righteousness, and the people in the conference room watched with relish. "You're not an active soldier. How can you help me? Our Cyrus family is very powerful, with a large transport fleet and family guards. As long as the princess says a word, our Cyrus family is willing to go through fire and water for you, even if we die." At this point, Caesar Cyrus actually felt a sense of pride in his heart. "I appreciate your kindness, but please forgive me for being presumptuous. Will Lord Fusei agree with your approach? Princess, please rest assured about this. I have taken over the business of our Cyrus family since 2 years ago. Now my father is focusing on the work of the empire, and I'm in charge of all the family businesses. I can make any decision. Now I'm the master of the Cyrus family. Thank you very much. However, I have not made a decision yet, because the operation to rescue Xia Xingchen is too dangerous. I don't want more people to be implicated. Let me think about it again. When I make up my mind, I will definitely ask you for help." The two exchanged a few more pleasantries. Caesar saw that his goal today had been achieved. Princess Xingchen did not seem to object to his help, and his plan was realized one step further. But he never thought that this princess crossing was a little fox, and her acting skills could win the best actress in the entertainment industry of the entire galaxy. He did not expect that many old foxes were appreciating his wonderful performance. Xingchen did not say much and cut off the communication. But everyone in the conference room understood what happened. Marshal von Bismarck laughed out loud. "Lord N.K., you are indeed very good at predicting things. You have already guessed what happened just now, and you have also given Jaina a shot of prevention. My tricks are just trivial. As long as you stand in the perspective of the conspirators, you will do that. But Jaina's acting skills are simply amazing. Who did she learn such a skill from? Humph, she ran away from home when she was naughty as a child and became a self-taught talent." The great elder Qin Yuanshan recalled the days when he made a mess in order to find Princess Crossing. "Your Majesty, all the adults, the mastermind behind the scenes has now surfaced. The real boss is Caesar Cyrus, and his real goal is Princess Crossing." In the capital starfield of the Galaxy Empire, Xia Star, at a secret meeting of the Galaxy Empire Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau, after presenting a series of solid evidence, Dayren said the mastermind behind the scenes Caesar Cyrus. The appearance of this person was unexpected by everyone. Almost no one dared to admit that such a conspiracy was planned by a young man under 30 years old. Emperor Qin Zhi suddenly said, "I seem to have some impression of Caesar Cyrus. When he was studying at the Royal Military Academy, his grades in all aspects seemed to be good. He was also generous and loved to make friends. He left a good impression on people. I didn't realize that he was such a cunning person." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641 Caesar's True Goal. Dayren took over the conversation. "Your Majesty, this is exactly what makes him scary. A person who has been able to disguise himself and win people's hearts since childhood, and more importantly, all of this is done flawlessly. This kind of scheming is not something that ordinary people can have. I have come into contact with this person several times, and I have to say that there are not many people of my age who I can't see through, and he, Caesar, is such a person." Having said that, Dayren operated on the virtual keyboard in front of him, and a large set of data was transmitted to the large screen on the wall. No matter how cunning a fox is, it will eventually leave its tail behind. Data can reflect many secrets hidden behind. Here are all the transcripts of Caesar Cyrus from elementary school to graduation from the Royal Military Command College. We can find from the data that no matter what subject, no matter how difficult or easy the exam subject is, his score is perfectly controlled at around 90 points. There is no exception. This score makes him rank around 10th in almost every exam. This ranking is also very particular. It will make people think that he is better, but he will not be too prominent and envied. I think everyone knows what this kind of mentality and ability to control grades show. Everyone nodded in agreement. At this time, the old Prime Minister N.K. smiled. "Speaking of this transcript, I seem to have seen a similar one." Everyone laughed. The transcript he mentioned has been seen by many people present. It was Dayren's transcript. Dayren's face turned red, and he was a little embarrassed. When the candidate for the director of the Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau was determined, his transcript was taken out by Day Yunfei, which was almost the same as Caesar Cyrus's transcript. In essence, he and Caesar are the same type of people. The only difference is that they grew up in different family environments, and he does not have the ambition of Caesar Cyrus. Dayren calmed down and then analyzed. The mastermind behind the scenes is Caesar. His target is Princess Crossing Xingchen, and attacking Chenzinger is his means. In addition, destroying the princess agreement and retaliating against the minors are just incidental practices. Emperor Qin Zhi was very puzzled. Why is his target Jaina? Jaina has not offended him. Is it because the princess agreement has harmed the interests of their family that he retaliated against Jaina? Dayren smiled. Your Majesty, retaliating against Princess Crossing is not his purpose. Getting Princess Crossing is his real purpose. The princess agreement signed by Her Royal Highness Princess Crossing and Chenxinger can be said to be a great achievement that can be recorded in the annals of history. Princess Crossing has worked hard for this. Once the princess agreement is violated, Princess Crossing will be hit hard and her self-confidence will be seriously damaged. And people know that Princess Crossing values feelings. She will definitely go to rescue Chenxinger when she learns that something happened. And sending people to rescue Chenxinger has a very low chance of success, so Princess Crossing's prestige, connections and strength will be hit even harder. This is not over yet. The biggest obstacle to getting Princess Crossing is Xia Xingchen. Now Xia Xingchen is in the Northern Empire. If he learns about this, he will definitely take the initiative to help Princess Crossing. This will put Xia Xingchen in a dead end. If Xia Xingchen dies, Princess Crossing will be hit hard again. At this time, a strong and handsome guy will come out to help her out, so he will have the opportunity to enter Princess Crossing's world. This is actually a plot of hiring gangsters and coming out to be a hero to save the beauty. Although it is very tasteless, it has to be admitted that this method is very effective. By then, Caesar will become the imperial consort, and with the help of Princess Crossing's reputation, few say Cyrus will use those deputies to successfully ascend to power. In this way, the importance of the Cyrus family in both the government and the royal family will be difficult to shake. This is the real purpose of the Cyrus family. The above is our Military Strategic Intelligence Bureau's view on this incident. HMPH, a toad wants to eat swan meat, and such a conspirator wants to get his hands on Mike family's daughter. Qin Yuanshan, the great elder of the royal family, was very angry. People who use the royal family as a springboard to climb up are the reverse scale of the elders council, and the elders will not allow such a thing to happen. It's absurd. These people are simply thieves who steal the country. Emperor Qin Zhi was angry. Come here. The Ministry of the Interior will quickly send people to arrest people and confiscate their homes. It's really abominable. Your Majesty, you can't. Please think twice. Your Majesty, the time is not ripe yet. What are you doing? Emperor Qin Zhi was a little confused. Prime Minister N.K. smiled bitterly. Your Majesty, these conclusions and evidences of ours are not direct evidence. Most of them are speculations. Even if we go to court, as long as the other party refuses to admit it, we don't have any chance of winning. For Cyrus has become big now. With his status and power, if he is taken down with such a reason, it will cause an uproar in all walks of life in the country. At that time, it will cause political instability and social unrest. Then what do you say we should do? Are we just going to watch them steal the power of the empire? Emperor Qin Zhi was a little anxious. At this time, the Minister of the Interior Dai Yunfei spoke. Your Majesty, conspiracies are called conspiracies because they cannot stand the light of day. And once a conspiracy is exposed to the sun, it will be useless, and the only thing waiting for them is destruction. Now that the Fussy family has been targeted, the next step is for the intelligence department to closely monitor them and collect evidence. Once they show their feet and we catch them, we will arrest them immediately. Okay, let's do this. The Military Strategic Intelligence Agency has made great contributions, and I will reward them. These foxes of the Fussy family are now handed over to you. Yes, Your Majesty. The Count Dracula left first, led by the experienced Captain Bielsa, and Collis created a low-level artificial intelligence clone on the Count Dracula. Their current identity is a smuggling ship, and in terms of security, there are two C-class mecha divisions, Brunswick and Elisa, so there is no problem. The evil thought did not leave Terramal. Instead, it stayed here for 3 days. According to Carlos, this is called sharpening the knife before chopping wood. During these 3 days, Carlos upgraded and modified the evil thought, optimized the spacecraft thrusters and power system, and rewrote the power control software. Such changes increased the speed of the evil thought by 30%, but the price was that Xia Xingchen paid more than 50 billion star coins. Chapter 642 Xia Xingchen's preparation. He didn't feel bad at all. For Xia Xingchen, anything that can be solved with money is not a problem. The journey to Blohinsk is very long. If the speed can be increased by 30%, they will save a lot of time on the road. And the faster speed will make it easier to escape. After rescuing Xia Xingchen, the spaceship is on the road. Anyway, Carlos is controlling the spaceship. The engine power output has been perfectly controlled at 99%, which is something that human pilots cannot do. Carlos is now controlling the spaceship while contacting his artificial intelligence clone in the Baku starfield to start collecting various intelligence about Blohinsk and its surroundings. Xia Xingchen doesn't care about this information now. It will take nearly a month to reach Blohinsk. It's useless to study how to save people now, because a month will change a lot. Now the top priority for Xia Xingchen is to improve his own strength as soon as possible. Xia Xingchen can think that the Northern Empire will definitely deploy heavy troops on Blohinsk, and there will be many B-class mecha divisions, and even A-class mecha divisions may appear. As for the S-class mecha master Xia Xingchen, he was not worried. Although Xia Xingchen was important, it was not necessary to send an S-class mecha master to guard her. Moreover, once the S-class mecha master took action, it would mean that the war would escalate. This was something Nicholas did not want to see. He needed more time to prepare for the war. For Xia Xingchen, the fastest and most significant way to improve his strength was to improve his own mental power level. His current mental power level was level 29. If his mental power level could be raised to level 30, then his strength would have a leap like going up a step. Now Xia Xingchen's mecha driving skills and martial arts have entered a bottleneck period. If he wants to improve again, he can only rely on slow accumulation and continuous training in actual combat. Unless he encounters a big opportunity, it is difficult to make a big improvement in a short period of time. Improving the level of mental power is the easiest to do. If Xia Xingchen's mental power level can reach 30, first of all, his total mental power will be greatly improved, and he will be more meticulous when operating the mecha, and his grasp of the battlefield situation and reaction speed will be greatly improved. This directly improves his combat effectiveness. The 30th level of mental power is a big step. Since Xia Xingchen has the crystal pyramid of the Manco people, which is a source of faith, he is likely to generate a new mental power at this level. And his previous mental power insight and mental clone may also be upgraded again. In addition, there is Xia Xingchen's portable mecha space. Carlos analyzed that, if Xia Xingchen's mental power level can reach level 30, the volume of the portable mecha space can be increased several times, so that Xia Xingchen can carry 4 to 5 mechas at a time. This is of great help to him in taking some secret actions. The third point is that Carlos's ability has been improved. The improvement of Xia Xingchen's mental power level can unlock higher permissions for Carlos in the source of faith, allowing Carlos to have more functions and unlock more Manco people's technology. In addition, Carlos has collected 90% of the upgrade materials. When returning to the Galactic Empire, Xia Xingchen will find Tang Dynasty Group or Krupp Industries to collect the remaining materials, and Carlos will upgrade. At that time, its computing speed, functions, and the volume of artificial intelligence space will also be greatly increased. But one problem Xia Xingchen has to face is that, in order to improve his mental power level, in addition to meditation, he has to take some potions. Due to the source of faith, the total amount of mental power Xia Xingchen needs to upgrade is hundreds of times that of normal humans. If he relies on meditation alone, even if he does not eat, drink, or do anything, it will take 3 years. This is unacceptable to Xia Xingchen. Another way is to rely on mental power potions. But using potions comes at a price, and it is very likely that his mental power will never be able to improve after this upgrade. There are a lot of mental power potions in Xia Xingchen's portable mecha space, but he has never taken them because he is afraid of the side effects. Xia Xingchen is thinking hard about how to improve his mental power level. His mental power growth is different from that of ordinary people. He recalled the process of his mental power level increasing significantly every time. Several times, he did some things he loved with his beloved woman, and found that the mental power levels of both parties had increased after the event. However, this method does not seem to be very reliable. Now Xia Xingchen feels that he has been involved with too many women, and he does not want to become a sex devil. Besides, there is only one woman, Nina, on the spaceship now. Where can we find an innocent woman? The most important point is that Xia Xingchen feels that if he harms girls in order to improve his strength, he will become a scum. Another way is that Xia Xingchen has overdrawn his mental power in several battles. After this kind of mental power overdrawn, when meditating again, the mental power recovers very quickly. After the mental power recovers, the total amount of mental power is greatly improved. Xia Xingchen intends to use this method to quickly improve the level of mental power, and Collis also agrees with his plan. How to consume all the mental power is very simple for Xia Xingchen, because in the past few days on Terminal Star, Xia Xingchen has learned a few more tricks from S-level Mecha Master Popovich. The most important one is the Mecha overclocking technology. In the Battle of Hell Island on Tunguska Star, Popovich used Mecha overclocking technology in combat. The word overclocking was originally a term in computer. Computer overclocking is to increase the operating frequency of hardware such as CPU, graphics card, memory, etc. through the overclocking method of the computer operator, so that they can work stably at a frequency higher than their rated frequency, so as to increase the working speed of the computer. Computer overclocking is generally achieved by increasing heat dissipation technology and increasing voltage. However, with the large-scale application of optical computers, its performance has greatly exceeded that of ordinary computers, and overclocking operations on computers have become very rare. However, the overclocking technology was later applied to Mecha. Generally speaking, there are two ways to overclock Mecha. One is to be done by Mecha repairman, which is called physical overclocking. Chapter 643, Mecha overclocking technology. Physical overclocking is when a Mecha repairman adjusts the parameters of the operating system inside the Mecha and modifies key parameters such as the output power of the Mecha to improve the performance of the Mecha. But there is a problem here. The operating system parameters set by the Mecha manufacturer are confirmed after countless experiments based on the material and structural performance of the Mecha. The parameters obtained in such experiments are actually a kind of protection for the Mecha. Once the output power of the Mecha is increased by increasing the parameters, it will cause great damage to the service life and even safety of the Mecha. Some Mecha repairmen will strengthen some parts after modifying the parameters to reduce the damage to the Mecha caused by overclocking. However, there is a problem here that the Mecha is a whole. If the Mecha is overclocked, increasing the output power is not just a problem of one or two parts. It involves thousands of parts working overload. You can't strengthen and replace all the parts. The cost is too high, almost like building a new Mecha. The enhanced Royal Knight Mecha that Popovich fought with Xia Xingchen was almost scrapped because of this overclocking method. Another problem with physical overclocking is that it has limited effect on improving the performance of mechas. Generally speaking, it is good to increase the output power of mechas by 20% to 30%, and it is rare to exceed 40%. The Mecha overclocking technology used by Popovich can instantly increase the output power of mechas by 200% or even 300%. This is another overclocking method, mental power overclocking. Using mental power overclocking technology is almost a threshold for S-level Mecha masters. Without this technology, you will never reach that level. What is the essence of mental power? Humans have not yet fully understood it. They just define it as a special life energy. The mental power of S-level Mecha masters has reached level 50. Even if they have not awakened their mental power, their control over mental power has almost reached the level of perfection. They can even materialize mental power through the mental power control device of the Mecha. Mecha masters who want to use mental power overclocking technology must first ensure that they have a huge total amount of mental power, because this technology consumes a lot of mental power. At least the mental power must reach level 50 to have enough mental power to support the consumption of mental power by overclocking. For ordinary humans, if their mental power does not reach level 50, it is very likely that their mental power will be drained when using this technology, and they will be kicked out of the operating system by the Mecha directly, causing the Mecha to lose control. Therefore, those S-level Mecha masters who master this technology will not teach it to people whose mental power level is less than level 50. This is a kind of protection for them. When using the Mecha's mental power overclocking technology, the Mecha Master's mental power is used in 3 parts. The first part is used for the Mecha's power system, such as the engine of a conventional mecha or the nuclear power engine of a nuclear mecha. Mental power here plays a role of a combustion aid. When the Mecha Master's mental power enters the engine, it is like injecting hydrogen into a blazing furnace, and the engine will burst out with huge energy. Even if it is not a nuclear engine, the discharge speed of the Mecha's energy battery will instantly increase by dozens of times. This is also the root of the Mecha overclocking technology. The second part of the mental power is used to protect the overloaded parts. This is an application of the materialization of mental power. The huge energy burst out by the engine can make the parts of the mecha unable to bear it at all. But if these parts are wrapped by mental power, then mental power will become the medium for the transmission of this energy, and it will also strengthen and protect the parts. The third part of the use of mental power is to increase the control of the mecha and enhance the perception of the battlefield environment. Imagine that a mecha flying at full speed has increased its speed by 3 or 4 times in an instant. If it still follows the previous operating habits and reaction speed, it is likely to crash before the battle. Therefore, the Mecha Master needs more mental power to strengthen the senses and enhance the reaction speed. These 3 are indispensable, so if the total amount of mental power is not enough, this technology cannot be used at all. Just like Popovich, he does not always use mental power overclocking in battle. If he uses the Mecha overclocking technology with all his strength, his mental power can only support about 100 seconds of Mecha overclocking battle. So Popovich only uses mental power to overclock the Mecha at a certain moment when needed, so that the combat time can be extended. Xia Xingchen learned this technology from Popovich. Because of the existence of the core of faith, his total mental power is far greater than that of others, so he can barely use this technology. Moreover, Xia Xingchen has the ability of mental telekinesis, and uses this ability to replace part of the mental power used to protect the mecha parts, which further reduces his mental power consumption. However, Popovich did not know this. When he taught Xia Xingchen this technology, he repeatedly warned him not to use this technology when his mental power level was not enough. Xia Xingchen secretly tried it. When the mental power was fully output to overclock the mecha, the output power of his mecha could reach 200%, but it could only last for a pitiful 5 seconds. If the standard is relaxed, and the mecha performance is only overclocked by 50%, he can last for 10 seconds. After this time, he felt dizzy and his brain was swollen. He couldn't open his eyes and just wanted to sleep. This was the result of mental power overdraft. But now, Xia Xingchen is using mental power overclocking technology to quickly drain his mental power, so that when the mental power is fully restored, the total mental power will be greatly improved. But there is another problem. If Xia Xingchen relies on meditation by himself, it will take 4 or 5 days for his mental power to be exhausted and then restored. Obviously, Xia Xingchen does not have such sufficient time. So Carlos suggested that Xia Xingchen use mental power potion. Carlos consulted a lot of information and consulted Dr. He Yunlin. Finally, he found out why the mental power potion caused some people's total mental power to be unable to grow in the later stage. Mental power potion can greatly improve the mental power in the human body in a short period of time. However, if the mental power is supplemented too much at one time, the human body cannot absorb it, so the human immune system will be mobilized to start a protection mechanism. This protection mechanism prevents the total mental power in the human body from growing. The next time the total mental power reaches a certain level, even if it is achieved by meditation, the human body's protection mechanism will determine that this is a problem and will not allow the total mental power to grow any further. So it is difficult to continue to improve under such circumstances. But Xia Xingchen is different. His spiritual sea is really too large. As long as he pays attention to the dosage of the potion, it is difficult for his mental power to grow beyond the limit and trigger the human body's protection mechanism. In addition, even if he drank too much, since Xia Xingchen had the source of faith in his hand, the excess mental power would be absorbed by the source of faith. Therefore, Xia Xingchen could boldly use mental power potions to improve himself. Chapter 644 Princess Crossing's Reinforcement. The evil thoughts set out on the journey, and Xia Xingchen was the first to drive it. He was now using the evil thoughts to overclock his mental power. Many S-class mecha masters also used small spaceships when they first started practicing overclocking technology. First of all, small spaceships have simpler and more durable parts than mechas, and are also easier to repair. Therefore, although they are much larger than mechas, due to the fewer parts, less mental power is used to protect the parts. In addition, the control of the spaceship is much simpler than that of the mecha. As long as there is still consciousness and the hands and feet can control the joystick, the spaceship can continue to travel, and the mental power consumed on this is negligible. Mecha masters can use more mental power to catalyze the power system. Another difference is that the overclocking of small spaceships cannot exceed 60%. This is because the structural strength of small spaceships is much worse than that of mechas. If the overclocking is too fast, it is easy to cause the spaceship itself to disintegrate. And if the speed is too fast, a space meteorite the size of a basketball in space may become a cannonball when it hits the spaceship. Xia Xingchen used his mental power to overclock the spaceship to 110% at first. After a few minutes, his mental power ran out. At this time, Carlos would take over the spaceship and reduce it to a normal speed. Xia Xingchen went to the lounge to take a mental potion and began to meditate. After more than 10 hours, Xia Xingchen's mental power would be fully restored, and the total amount of mental power would be greatly improved. After several rounds of this, Xia Xingchen began to try to overclock to 120%. Fortunately, this journey was long enough for Xia Xingchen to meditate fully. However, before entering the arduous special training, he asked Carlos to pass some information to the Galactic Empire. Galactic Empire, capital Star Region, Xia Xingchen Star. There is a manor not far from the palace. The buildings in the manor are very simple. In several squares of the manor, thousands of children of all skin colors are undergoing arduous military training. Princess Crossing looked at everything in front of her with curiosity. This is the headquarters base of the Holy Templar organization in the entire Xia Xingchen Star. The person in charge here is the S-class Mecha Master, one of the Guardian Knights of the Galactic Empire royal family, Bell Knight. Just a few days ago, her secret mailbox received an email from Xia Xingchen from the north. In the email, Xia Xingchen said that he had already known the news that Chen Tingting was arrested. He also knew that this was a trap, but he was confident that he could rescue Chen Tingting. He asked Kinjana not to do stupid things and not to run to the Northern Empire in a fit of rage. Once she got into trouble, the Galactic Empire would be in great trouble. Xia Xingchen knew Kinjana's character very well. She was very opinionated. If she made up her mind to go to the Northern Empire, no one could stop her. So Xia Xingchen also arranged a task for her, asking her to find someone to help send a spacecraft to sneak into the Northern Empire quietly and ambush in the border area of the Western Administrative District to meet Xia Xingchen and others. Xia Xingchen had already arranged candidates for her, some of whom were from the Holy Temple organization. Because the Northern Empire had a tough folk style, there were few alien creatures that posed a great threat to humans and could not be controlled, so the Holy Temple organization had little influence in the Northern Empire and few personnel. The two countries also lost contact after the war. However, the Holy Temple was unwilling to intervene in the internal fighting of mankind. As long as the Northern Empire did not provoke them, the Holy Temple would not make any statement. However, Xia Xingchen passed a piece of information to Hao Cheng, and Hao Cheng gave the information to his teacher, Night Bell. After reading the information, Night Bell did not dare to delay, and quickly contacted the other 9 elders of the Holy Temple. This information shocked the entire Holy Temple. This is a piece of information about the actions of the chosen organization in various parts of the Northern Empire. They have now surfaced and colluded with some officials of the Northern Empire, and they have expanded greatly. The chosen organization disregards human life and conducts various inhumane experiments on human bodies, which will undoubtedly bring great disasters to mankind. Such lunatics and ambitious people are the targets that the Holy Temple organization wants to focus on. It can be imagined that in the upcoming war, once the people of the chosen organization collude with the Northern Empire, the consequences will be unbearable, and the entire human society will be in crisis at that time. The people of the Holy Temple can't sit still, and they are now sending some people to the Northern Empire to investigate the matter. Xia Xingchen also sent an email to Hao Cheng, hoping that Hao Cheng could help mediate. Once the Holy Temple organization sent personnel to the Northern Empire, they hoped that they could send a few elites to help bring Princess Crossing's men over. The Holy Temple organization was very low-key, but their power was not something Nicholas could provoke, so he asked a few people from the Holy Temple to go to the Northern Empire together. Once they were interrogated, if the people from the Holy Temple revealed their identities, then at least the safety of these people would be guaranteed. Hao Cheng told Night Bell about this, and Night Bell agreed. So they found Princess Crossing to discuss this matter. After some secret negotiations, Night Bell agreed to send a team to follow Princess Crossing's people to the Northern Empire. There were more than 20 people, led by Hao Cheng. They would follow Princess Crossing's people to the designated location, and then quietly leave, to restore contact with the people from the Holy Temple in various parts of the Northern Empire, and inquire about the news of the chosen organization. Hao Cheng would continue to stay to help Princess Crossing's people pick up Xia Xingchen. Hao Cheng has made rapid progress under the training of Night Bell over the past year. With the nuclear-powered Monkey King mecha that Xia Xingchen helped him transform, he has now passed the assessment of a Class B mecha master. Xia Xingchen asked him for help, and Hao Cheng felt that he had no choice but to do it. And like Xia Xingchen, he was stuck in a bottleneck. He now needed to fight, and only in fighting could he really make progress. Hao Cheng took 20 people from the Holy Temple organization and his Monkey King mecha, and took a small high-speed spacecraft to Rostar, where they would meet up with others, and head north together. There was also one person, and one mecha traveling with Hao Cheng. This was a middle-aged man in his 40s, who was very humorous, Overmars. Overmars was a special member of the Princess Guard and an A-class mecha master. Although he was nominally a member of the Princess Guard, he was not affiliated with the Royal Fleet, but a retainer of Princess Crossing. In other words, he was only loyal to Princess Crossing herself. Generally, mecha masters at this level are reluctant to be bound by the rules and regulations of the army, unless they have become senior generals in the military. Overmars usually stayed on Xia Star, helping Princess Crossing's guards train mecha divisions. He watched Princess Crossing grow up, and they had a very good relationship. This time, Kinjana asked him to help. Overmars happened to be a little bored after staying on Xia Star for a long time, so he agreed to Kinjana's request and participated in the operation. Chapter 645, Reinforcement Gathered. A week later, Overmars, Hao Cheng and others arrived at Re, an important town in the Western Administrative Region. On the industrial satellite of the Krupp family, they saw the high-speed stealth cruiser in front of them. Without any delay, several people boarded the spacecraft, which immediately took off and headed for Laulan. The spacecraft that Hao Cheng and his team took was the first ship of the Sachsen-class medium-sized high-speed stealth cruiser of the Krupp military-industrial group, the Sachsen. The design concept of this spacecraft is unique. It is 350 meters long, 68 meters wide and 55 meters high. Its appearance is not streamlined, but similar to a square rectangle. The front left side of the hull protrudes forward with an integrated energy shield system of more than 10 meters long. This integrated energy shield system can release a very powerful energy shield on the front of the spacecraft. This energy shield can withstand hundreds of heavy laser volleys, and can also withstand the direct frontal shooting of plasma cannons. At critical moments, it can even be used as a ramming angle. The main weapon of the Sachsen class is a giant laser cannon directly in front of the spacecraft. The muzzle of this laser cannon is a giant artificial crystal with a diameter of 18 meters. The rest of the laser cannon is inside the spacecraft. This cannon is very powerful, with a maximum range of 1,500 kilometers. If the scattering rate of the laser is increased, a giant beam with an effective range of 500 kilometers and a killing range of more than 200 meters in diameter will be formed in front of the spacecraft. There are also two heavy laser secondary guns on the right side of the spacecraft. The left and right sides of the Sachsen class are equipped with more than 200 small laser rapid-fire cannons, totaling more than 400. The density of these cannons is so high that it makes people have intensive phobia. It is almost impossible for mechas to approach the spacecraft from the side. The tail of the Saxon is 4 large laser rapid-fire cannons, which are mainly used to deal with pursuers. The other weapon systems of the Saxon are all on the top of the spacecraft. There are 4 mecha catapults, and dozens of vertical launch systems for missiles and torpedoes of various models. A large number of missiles and space torpedoes can be launched to carry out saturation strikes on opponents. It can also carry 16 mechas as combat weapons. The propeller of the Saxon class is very unique. It is composed of 40 medium-sized propellers integrated together to form a propeller array. The advantage of this design is that the power output of the spacecraft can be controlled more accurately while reducing the heat source reaction of the spacecraft without affecting the speed of the spacecraft, reducing the chance of being discovered. The Saxon class uses 4 large controlled nuclear fusion engines for power supply, 2 of which supply the propellers, and the other engine is dedicated to powering the giant laser cannon. The material of the warship uses the latest plastic composite armor. This armor has excellent protective performance, lightweight, and can absorb radar waves and light waves, and has excellent stealth performance. In addition, 8 Mirage systems are installed on the spacecraft, making the stealth performance of the Saxon outstanding in the entire galaxy. The Saxon class is a scientific research concept ship. As we all know, the research and development and manufacturing of space battleships require the integration of a large amount of technology on the spacecraft. Krupp and Tang Dynasty Group invest heavily in the research and development of new technologies every year. However, whether these new technologies are reliable or not, they need to be applied to spacecraft for experiments. As a result, the scientific research concept ship came into being. There are dozens of such scientific research concept ships in the Krupp Military Industrial Group. These spacecrafts adopt the latest design concepts from appearance design, material use, power system, weapons, and equipment, and detection system. With the development of science and technology, many technologies have been continuously improved, and most of the technologies on these concept ships have matured and can be put into the market. The Saxon class is such a spacecraft. Not long ago, it participated in the bidding of the Galactic Empire military. At this bidding meeting, it was a big hit, and it beat several spacecrafts of the Tang Dynasty Group in all aspects of performance. However, the Krupp Group did not get an order from the Galactic Empire military. The reason is very simple. It is too expensive. The cost of each ship is 3 times that of the Rhine class. The Galactic Empire military can't afford it at all. However, the military is also studying whether to order a small number of Saxon classes for secret infiltration operations. Xia Xingchen needed to find someone to rescue Xia Xingchen, so he asked Carlos to contact William Krupp. William Krupp quickly had someone pack up the spacecraft and immediately put it into battle, and selected 10 technicians from Krupp employees to go with the spacecraft. A few days later, the Yazi organization sent 3 mechas and dozens of combatants and spacecraft pilots. Haji was the commander of this operation. In addition, Perlo and Li Xiang also came with them. They will be important combat forces. After they joined Hao-Cheng and others, they went to Lauland Star to pick up people. Because they had received a message from the Princess of Star, the Nebula Knights also secretly sent 3 elite mecha divisions to participate in this operation. Brigadier General Bercy was still worried about Freya coming to the Northern Empire alone, and he thought it was a good opportunity to exercise. So he convened a secret meeting of several elite mecha divisions under his command, and mentioned this matter. Bercy planned to let Lo go with Freya. Lo's strength is self-evident, and his grandfather is an S-class mecha division. If there had an accident in the Northern Empire, his grandfather, Knight Rothan, would not be indifferent. However, at this meeting, Scarlet actually took the initiative to volunteer to join the war. She and Freya had become very good friends during this period of time. There was another important reason that she didn't tell anyone. That is, she was very curious and wanted to see what Xia Xingchen, a legendary figure she had never met, looked like. So the 3 of them took 3 Nebula Knight mechas to Lauland Star. The evil thought small high-speed spacecraft finally arrived at Blohinsk Star, but their spacecraft did not come to Blohinsk immediately, but took the route to Sakhalin Star region. This is because Xia Xingchen's mental power level has reached a critical stage. Xia Xingchen has been using mental power overclocking to speed up the journey along the way. In addition, Carlos upgraded the evil thought on Terimal Star. The journey that originally took nearly 2 months to fly was completed in 28 days. Chapter 646, the painful upgrade process. The reason why they had to go to the Sakhalin starfield first was because they had no cargo on their current spaceship. Now Blohinsk was full of spies from the Ministry of the Interior and the military of the Northern Empire. It was easy for them to be suspected when they came here with no cargo on a spaceship like this. This was not a must-go route, nor was it a tourist destination. It was easy for an empty smuggling ship to come here. In the Sakhalin starfield, it was easy to get some smuggled goods. Some smugglers who were going to Blohinsk regarded this spaceship as a fat sheep, but Nina and Rusvan's Mechas were not just for show. They went up and solved this little trouble and robbed their cargo. However, this time, due to the need for confidentiality, Nina and her team were a little ruthless and did not leave any survivors. After encountering only 3 such spaceships, the cargo hold of the evil mind was full, filled with scarce military supplies smuggled from the Galactic Empire. The evil thought quietly stopped in a remote airspace at the junction of the Sakhalin star region and the Baku star region, hiding behind a huge space rock. The spacecraft released 3 anchor chains to firmly fix the evil thought. Xia Xingchen has now reached the critical moment of improving his mental power level. He has been constantly overdrawing his mental power and taking mental power potions. He feels that his total mental power has reached a bottleneck. This time, he completely emptied his mental power and almost fainted. However, after a month of continuous overdrawing of mental power, he no longer fainted as soon as his mental power was overdrawn, which made him very satisfied. This time, Xia Xingchen directly took 2 highest level mental power potions and then quickly sat cross-legged, running the tortoise breathing technique while meditating. It can be said that this tortoise breathing technique is really a good thing. It can not only repair the hidden injuries in the body, increase physical fitness and internal strength, but also speed up the meditation. This time, Xia Xingchen felt that his spiritual sea was full. The mental power was still increasing under the effect of the potion, and was compressed together by the spiritual sea, becoming more and more compact. This made Xia Xingchen feel very painful, with a splitting headache. However, in order to improve his strength, he gritted his teeth and persevered, trying not to faint. He knew that if he fainted, this breakthrough opportunity would be wasted. Time passed by, and Xia Xingchen sat there, sweating all over, his teeth clenched, his muscles tensed, and even the blood vessels on his head protruded from the surface of his skin. Carlos discovered Xia Xingchen's abnormality in the cabin monitoring, but he was not a human after all, and had not experienced this process, so Carlos did not know the condition of Xia Xingchen's body, so he quickly notified Keeley and others. Keeley came in and observed for a while, and decided not to act rashly, and observe for a while. Xia Xingchen is now in a critical period of upgrading. If this process is interrupted rashly, it is very likely to cause a demonic obsession. In severe cases, there is a risk of life, and in mild cases, it will cause the mental power to no longer be upgraded, or even the mental power level to decline. Moreover, when humans upgrade their mental power, there are many different symptoms. Some upgrade unconsciously during meditation, and some upgrade after sleeping. Of course, there are also people who experience great pain when upgrading like Xia Xingchen, and this situation often occurs when breaking through a bottleneck. 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Just when Xia Xingchen was about to lose consciousness, the crystal pyramid in his mind, which was the source of faith, changed. The crystal pyramid, which was originally rotating very slowly, suddenly began to rotate faster and faster. At the same time, a suction force came from the pyramid. Under its effect, Xia Xingchen felt as if his spiritual sea was torn open, and the majestic spiritual power gushed out, and was all sucked into the source of faith. As the spiritual power was sucked into the crystal pyramid suddenly lit up little by little, bursting out with a dazzling golden color. But Xia Xingchen didn't know all this, because all his spiritual power was sucked dry by the crystal pyramid. The crystal pyramid lit up completely, and was still rotating at a high speed. After dozens of minutes, the absorbed spiritual power turned into golden color, and then swarmed out of the pyramid, and returned to Xia Xingchen's spiritual sea. After being purified and transformed by the source of faith, these mental powers returned to Xia Xingchen's spiritual sea, transforming and expanding Xia Xingchen's spiritual sea. Moreover, the mental power returned to his spiritual sea was hundreds of times more than the mental power just sucked into the source of faith. Those extra mental powers were the mental powers that Xia Xingchen had absorbed by the source of faith during his usual meditation. He was like saving money in a bank, making small deposits, and taking out large sums. All the accumulations in daily life were released today. At this time, in the cabin on the evil thought, Xia Xingchen suddenly tilted his head and could no longer sit still. He fell on the bed, which scared everyone. They hurriedly laid Xia Xingchen flat on the bed. Keeler quickly conducted a comprehensive physical examination on Xia Xingchen again. He fainted, but I don't think the problem is big. The symptoms are very similar to mental overdraft. I can only observe it for a while. I really can't do anything. After listening to Keeler's explanation, everyone relaxed a little, but no one left, and they were still waiting anxiously. Suddenly, Carlos spoke up. Everyone go and rest. Xia Xingchen's mental power has been successfully upgraded, and he needs to rest now. Everyone looked at Carlos in confusion. His expression was firm. It seemed that he had no expression. Carlos didn't know how to explain, but fortunately, everyone still admired Carlos's profound knowledge. If he said it was not a big problem, then it really was not a big problem. Xia Xingchen finally opened his eyes and found himself lying on the bed with a vital sign detection device on his body. What came into view was Nina's anxious eyes and Carlos' expressionless face. Great, Xingchen, you finally woke up. You have been in a coma for 2 days and 2 nights. I was scared to death by you. How do you feel now? Nina cried with joy. Now Xia Xingchen is her only relative and her spiritual support. Without Xia Xingchen, she doesn't know how to survive. Nina, I'm fine. I upgraded successfully, but I need to rest. You haven't slept for a long time. Look at your dark circles. You should also go to rest, and let Carlos check me. Chapter 647 The Benefits of Upgrading. Nina looked at Xia Xingchen, and reluctantly left the room. At this time, only Xia Xingchen and Carlos were left in the room. How do you feel? Very good. My whole body is full of energy. Xia Xingchen did it just now for Nina to see. On the one hand, to force her to rest, and on the other hand, to get her out of the way. He now had to quickly check with Carlos to see if their strength had improved as his mental power level changed. Xingchen, I feel that your upgrade was successful. I have also changed a lot now. First of all, the authority given to me by the core of faith has been upgraded. I can now unlock more secrets about the core of faith and the scientific and technological information of the Manco people. The data database is being loaded now, and it will take 72 hours to load and decompress it all. During this time, 95% of my computing resources will be used to load the data, so I do not recommend taking action during this period of time, which may cause my main body to overload. Don't worry, it's not a matter of a few days, and I also need time to adapt to the changes in my body. Carlos went on to introduce, through the upgrade of your mental power, the storage space and operating speed of my main body have doubled. Xia Xingchen was very happy. That's great. Your ability has doubled, and there are so many things you can do. I'm more confident in our operation this time. Carlos shook his head. Xingchen, this is far from enough. The Northern Empire also has a powerful artificial intelligence, at least an intermediate and advanced artificial intelligence. I'm far from capable enough to subdue the Northern Empire without alerting it. If the Northern Empire is alarmed, then it will be meaningless. Now the conditions for my software upgrade have been met, and I can upgrade after the data is unzipped. Now the upgrade of my main body mainly depends on the materials. Now I'm still short of about 10% of rare materials. You must return to the Galactic Empire as soon as possible to collect these materials. By then, the computing speed of my main body will be increased by about 100 times, and then all the artificial intelligence in the entire Milky Way will be at my fingertips. Don't worry, I will contact William Krupp and Li Xiaomin as soon as I go back. Their 2 major groups should have a lot of good stuff over the years. Xia Xingchen replied. Oh, by the way, Xingchen, there is another very good news. The data this time should include a star map of the Milky Way from more than a billion years ago. You can use it to compare with the current star map of the Milky Way, so that you can know the planets where some rare materials are now located. This is good news. Is there anything else? Of course, the last one is my artificial intelligence space. Now it has evolved into 5,000 small cubic spaces that are 3 meters long, 3 meters wide, and 3 meters high, so that more equipment and parts can be stored. If the mecha is disassembled, every 2 spaces can store a mecha. According to this development direction, when your mental power reaches level 40, my artificial intelligence space will become a cube with a length, width, and height of 6 meters. The number may also double. Think about it, we can carry 10,000 mechas, and then we can travel across the universe. At this point, Carlos couldn't suppress his excitement like a human. Alas, level 40. Xia Xingchen smiled bitterly. Carlos said it lightly. For an artificial intelligence that has existed for billions of years, hundreds of years may be just a short moment. But for Xia Xingchen, reaching level 40 is not an easy task. After reaching level 30, the total amount of mental power required for each level increase exceeds the sum of the previous 30 levels. This is for ordinary people. For Xia Xingchen, the total amount of mental power required is hundreds of times that of ordinary people. This is an extremely long and painful process. According to Xia Xingchen's calculation, if he uses his 1-month training method for 2/3 of the year, it will take about 10 years to reach level 40. In 10 years, it is possible that the war between the two countries will be over. And it is obvious that Xia Xingchen now does not have that much time. However, when Xia Xingchen heard Carlos mention his artificial intelligence space, he suddenly remembered his portable mecha space, so he immediately extended his mental power into it. The result surprised Xia Xingchen. Originally, Xia Xingchen's portable mecha space was a sphere with a diameter of 8 meters, but now, his mecha space has become a cube with a length, width and height of 12 meters. Now his portable mecha space is more than enough to carry 5 mechas. Xia Xingchen was overjoyed. Now, he could sneak into the Northern Empire base on Blohinsk, release 5 mechas at once, and then rescue Xia Xingchen and escape. Carlos, it seems that we need to get another batch of mechas now. Carlos nodded. There are now 6 mechas on the evil, Nina's Thunder Wings mecha, Yugo's Terami Warrior mecha, Miyamoto Kenichi's Enhanced Improved Animasha mecha, Rusvan's Silver Demon mecha, Keela's Enhanced Phantom mecha and Carlos's Magic Ranger mecha. Xia Xingchen's Revenge Knight mecha and the Enhanced Black Duke mecha have been put into his portable mecha space, because the mecha compartment on the evil is full with 6 mechas. In addition, there are 10 Flying Wolf mechas divided into 3 in Carlos's artificial intelligence space. These Flying Wolf mechas were captured by them in the Sakhalin starfield. Now, Xia Xingchen can carry more mechas, which will definitely greatly increase their success rate of rescuing people. After finishing the conversation with Carlos, Xia Xingchen went to take a shower and changed into clean clothes. He had not taken a shower or changed clothes for a month. His hair and beard had grown long and were messy. Nina personally helped him clean up. Of course, the two of them couldn't help but be affectionate. He hugged Nina and had a good sleep. He woke up refreshed. Xia Xingchen scanned his body with his mental power. He was surprised to find that his mental power had jumped to level 33. This was almost not just a surprise, but a shock. Xia Xingchen told Carlos about his situation. Carlos analyzed that the core of faith collected the mental power generated by his usual meditation, purified it once when he upgraded, and then returned it to Xia Xingchen to help him break the bottleneck and upgrade his level. According to the latest information Carlos obtained about the Manco people, the Manco people did not seem to have any activities such as meditation, only some exercises such as the turtle breathing technique. In addition, without the help of the source of faith, the Manco people did not specifically improve their spiritual power, which was a waste of time for them. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648 Showdown. Xia Xingchen called all the people on the evil thought to gather in the conference room and held a secret meeting. This was the first time Xia Xingchen and his team had gathered together since they left Terramal. Xia Xingchen wanted to discuss a specific rescue plan with them. Everyone, the reason why we haven't discussed our rescue plan with you is that we have a long way to go and there is no point in making a plan in advance. The more important reason is that I'm improving my mental power level. Because this involves a secret of mine, and this secret is the key to whether our rescue will be successful this time. Xia Xingchen's expression was very serious, and the people present also looked at him seriously. You are all the people I trust the most, but my secret is of great importance. Once it is leaked, we will all be in great trouble. Therefore, I need you to keep it secret for me, even to your brothers, sisters, lovers, and comrades. Xia Xingchen said, while looking into everyone's eyes. Eyes are the windows to the soul, and they cannot deceive people. At this time, Xia Xingchen also used the inside skill, and everyone's emotions did not change. Xia Xingchen felt very satisfied. Everyone nodded to show that they understood the importance of this matter. When my mental power level reached level 20, I awakened a special and extremely rare mental power, which is that I can open up a portable storage space in which I can store any items. This is equivalent to having a precious space storage equipment. At first, it could only store one mecha. But later, as my mental power level increased, it slowly increased to enough space to store 2 mechas. This time my mental power level exceeded level 30, and I can store 5 mechas in this portable mecha space. The only regret is that I cannot store living objects in this space. Oh my god, monster! Upon hearing such news, Nina, Keela, and Rusvan all widened their eyes. Carlos and Hugo knew it a long time ago, and they were calm, but Kenichi Miyamoto's eyes were full of fanaticism. He worshipped his master so much that he even wanted to kneel down and kiss Xia Xingchen's toes, even though it was disgusting. Keela smiled bitterly. You kid, why didn't you tell me earlier? Nina and I have designed countless rescue plans in the past month, and I don't know how many brain cells have died, but it's all in vain. I can't help it, I don't know what I can do. Xia Xingchen said apologetically. Carlos needs a few days to prepare and collect intelligence, and I need a few days to adapt to the changes in my mental power. In addition, we need to get a few mechas. Xia Xingchen began to arrange their next move. Xingchen, we have enough mechas, right? Even if we have more mechas, we don't have so many mecha masters, right? Nina asked, puzzled. Nina, you don't have to worry about the mecha master problem. Carlos has made a breakthrough in technology. His robots can now control mechas and perform at the level of a D-class mecha master. That's enough. In fact, Xia Xingchen's statement is still conservative. The robot pilots made by Carlos after the upgrade can now perform at the level of a C-class mecha master. Xia Xingchen was afraid that telling the truth would be too shocking. We now need to get some standard mechas of the Northern Empire military. Carlos will get the Northern Empire's optical computers and communication networks so that these mechas can sneak in. After we rescue people, these mechas will cover us when we retreat and delay the opponent's pursuit. Even if we can't beat the opponent, we can still self-destruct. Wow, self-destruct, good attention. We can also let Carlos control more mechas to launch terrorist attacks in various parts of Blohinsk to attract the opponent's troops. Keela added. So, we will use these few days to attack some remote resource satellites or remote space stations. Carlos will hack into the optical computer of the space station to ensure that they will not be discovered during these few days. By the time the Northern Empire finds out that the space station has been attacked, we will have already run away. And this will also attract the attention of the Northern Empire. After Carlos has collected intelligence, you will start to design a plan for our personnel to infiltrate. You are professional in this regard. Okay, Xingchen. The meeting ended, and the spacecraft kept flying south, far away from the main channel. There is a small supply station about 2 days away from the voyage, which Carlos found on the Northern Empire's network. The 2-day voyage is the full-speed voyage of the Evil Thought. If it is an ordinary spacecraft of the Northern Empire military, it will take about 5 days to arrive. There is a small supply station near the border asteroid belt in the southeast of the Sakhalin starfield. This is a target selected by Carlos, the SEN 87560 supply station. This supply station has only more than 50 mechas, half of which are engineering mechas. The supply station was built on a rectangular space meteorite. The supply station was about the size of 3 heavy space cruisers. The top of the SEN 87560 supply station was a flight deck over 500 meters long, which could take off and land fighters, mechas and small spaceships. 2 Dior-Alf mechas with flight backpacks were parked on the deck. The mechas were fixed to the deck by 4 steel cables, but there were no mecha divisions in the mechas, because only 1 or 2 spaceships passed by here every half a month. So there was no need to stay in the mechas every day for combat readiness duty. When the radar detected a passing spaceship, the mecha divisions would go on the mechas to pretend, and it was completely in time. At this time, in the command center of the SEN 87560 supply station, 4 duty personnel were playing cards together to kill time. Although the 2 countries had declared war, their place was far away from the strategic location and very remote. Probably in the future, even if the Northern Empire surrendered, the army of the Galactic Empire would not come here. So the defenders here were very slack. In other parts of the supply station, the same thing was happening at the same time. Suddenly, the alarm at the command center sounded, and the radar detected a spaceship approaching. Damn it, what's going on? I'm about to win a big one. It's so unlucky. Hurry up and put away the cards. A command-like figure ordered. The others ran back to their respective posts. What the hell? According to the flight plan, the next supply ship won't be here until a week later. What the hell is this? The radar operator complained. But what they didn't notice was that the central control optical computer of the base had been hacked, and data links were sent to the central optical computer of the supply station, tampering with the data inside. Chapter 649 Uninvited Guests. A small spaceship approached the SEN 87560 supply station in the southeast of the Sakhalin starfield. The staff on duty, who were gambling, hurriedly returned to their respective duty posts. They were not worried about someone coming to attack here. This place is far away from strategic targets, and there are no pirates. There are not many pirates in the Northern Empire, and there are no pirates who come to this remote place to rob military facilities. What they are afraid of is that the higher level military departments or the military court will come to check. The communicator in the command center was connected, and the screen showed a Northern Empire soldier wearing a lieutenant uniform. This image was actually a character simulated by Carlos, which was too simple for Carlos. At this time, the light spot representing the evil mind in the radar was green, which meant that this was a warship of the Northern Empire, and the enemy identification system had been broken by Carlos long ago. SEN 87560 supply station. I'm the communication ship of the 3rd Fleet. Military identification code NTCO 58,896,255. I'm Lieutenant Weiss. We are going to the SEN 95634 resource satellite to perform a mission, but one of our engines has failed and needs to be repaired here. Please guide the ship to land and arrange for maintenance personnel to prepare spare parts. In the remote space stations in space, due to the distance, it is impossible to connect to the local area network, so the message needs to be transmitted by the ship, and such a ship is a communication ship. The reason why they have to disguise themselves as communication ships is that these ships are irregular. The cargo ships for supply generally have a fixed schedule, and rash appearances are likely to be suspected by the other party. The speaker is Keelan, who is very good at imitating various sounds, and the Lieutenant Weiss in the picture is also doing various actions to match his words. Oh, Lieutenant Weiss, it's really unfortunate. Our spacecraft maintenance engineer had a stomach yesterday and is being treated in the infirmary. I'm really sorry. Let's do this. We will provide spare parts for the spacecraft thrusters and you can install them yourself. The commander was disturbed from gambling and saw that the captain of the other ship was at the same level as him, so he immediately wanted to make things difficult. Brother, please help us. We don't want to trouble you, but the spacecraft is broken. This is not what we want. Now the engine output power of the spacecraft is only 30%. It will take us 2 months to reach this speed. If the remaining engine is broken, we will become floating corpses in space. Lieutenant Weiss was very sincere. But a good attitude is useless. Lieutenant Weiss, it's not that I don't want to help you, it's just unfortunate that our engineers are stuck in their beds and can't get down. How can we help you fix it? The rest of us don't know how to repair spaceships. You better figure it out on your own. Besides, you're going on a long journey, why don't you check and maintain the spaceship before you go? Brother, you know that our army is dirt poor right now, and all resources are tilted towards the frontline combat departments. Those of us in logistics are raised by our stepmothers. Our spaceship is more than 70 years old, which is almost as old as my grandfather. And in order to save money, the routine maintenance every 10,000 hours has been extended to every 30,000 hours. We have to endure some minor problems at ordinary times, and it's not easy for us. Looking at the miserable look of Lieutenant Weiss, the commander finally calmed down a little. Or perhaps the complaints of Lieutenant Weiss resonated with him, and the commander finally relaxed. Well, let me send you a few maintenance apprentices and orderly soldiers to help you repair the spacecraft. Since the engineers are not here, you should provide them with technical guidance. You should have the technology to repair the spacecraft. Thank you, brother. We have some good wine on the spacecraft. Let's get drunk tonight. The commander's eyes lit up when he heard this. The people of the Northern Empire love wine, but in the army of the Northern Empire, wine is not allowed to be brought on warships, even transport ships. Before the army issued a prohibition on alcohol, soldiers often drove spacecraft after drinking, resulting in tragic accidents. Bringing wine on a warship is a huge risk. There are no more than 5 bottles of wine in the entire base, all of which the commander secretly hid and was reluctant to drink. The people below even wanted to mix alcohol into wine to drink. For this evening's wine, the commander quickly issued an order. 10 minutes later, the old spacecraft appeared on the optical imaging system. In fact, this was a simulation of the Mirage system. Moreover, Carlos's signal to the optical imaging system was also false, and the people in the base did not see any clues at all. A few hours later, the spacecraft slowly approached the deck. 6 soldiers wearing spacesuits came to the deck reluctantly to guide the spacecraft to land. Hey, what kind of spacecraft is this? Why haven't I seen it before? One of the soldiers was very curious. Maybe it's a civilian spacecraft that has been conscripted. Our Northern Empire military has gone crazy with poverty. Another soldier said disdainfully. Okay, stop talking and get to work. Didn't the boss say that if we do a good job, we will have wine to drink tonight? You are the only one who believes his lies. How many times has he made empty promises, and which one has he cashed? Isn't it that we are working hard here, while they are getting benefits everywhere? Complaining about superiors is probably the commonality of all armies. The spacecraft landed on the deck and slowly stopped. A hatch under the evil mind was opened, and several people in spacesuits came out. Hey, strange, what's the matter with the paint on this spacecraft? No matter how poor the army is, it can't afford paint, right? A soldier felt that something was wrong. Yes, their spacesuits are not standard either. Report to the commander immediately. Before the report was finished, a man on the opposite side pulled out 2 long swords from his back. 2 sword style. Fire Phoenix Nirvana, a huge phoenix-shaped flame with a diameter of 2 or 3 meters attacked the 6 people. It was a hot sword energy. After a violent explosion, the broken arms and limbs drifted in the space. However, since there is no air in space, the sound is very close, and the explosion did not alarm others. Miyamoto Kenichi killed 5 people with this move. The remaining one was far away, and was thrown several meters away by the sword energy, but he did not die. He instinctively wanted to turn around and run away, but a sharp alloy short spear flew over, penetrated to layers of spacesuits, and nailed the body of the man firmly to the ground. This was Yugo's move. He held a crossbow in his hand, and carried 4 short spears on his back, one of which had been used. In space, due to the lack of gravity and air resistance, the range of the crossbow arrow can reach 200 or 300 meters. Then, more than a dozen robots jumped down from the evil with weapons in hand. Being in space had no effect on robots. Finally, the door of mecha compartment on the evil opened, and Nina drove the Thor wing mecha out. However, the people in the command room of the SEN 87560 supply station did not notice the abnormality on the deck at this time. They were still blinded by Carlos's trick. If they were not so lazy, but walked a few steps to the window of the command center to take a look, they might have found that the god of death had arrived. Chapter 650 Killing Robot. The battle begins, and everyone will act separately. Everyone will sneak into the base according to the route arranged by Carlos. Nina will be responsible for dealing with the mechas that come out and protecting the spacecraft. Everyone should ensure their own safety as the main goal, and don't act recklessly if there are tough guys. Also remember one thing, this is a military facility. All the people inside are enemy troops. There are no civilians, so we won't leave anyone alive. Seeing that all the combatants were in place, Xia Xingchen issued a combat order. Xia Xingchen led Carlos and 4 robots to the command center of the SEN 87560 supply station. The moment the door opened, Xia Xingchen and Carlos opened fire with their guns, and every bullet hit the target. Xia Xingchen walked to the commander's body and kicked the thing that was blocking the way away. Dude, this is bullet vodka, drink it and get on the road early. Carlos's head indicator light flashed, and the data of various equipment in the command center immediately returned to normal. Xia Xingchen saw the battle situation in various places in the base. Miyamoto Kenichi entered the soldiers' dormitory alone with a knife. There were more than 20 people here. They saw a strange stranger walk in with 2 long knives, and they were very puzzled. But no alarm sounded. These people were used to comfort, and did not realize the danger. The next moment, the knife flashed, the limbs flew, and soon there were no survivors. Yugo, Rasvan and Keela went to the mecha warehouse. With Keela, the top killer, and a powerful vampire, these people were dead before they could react. Yugo didn't even get a chance to attack again. The rest of the place was taken care of by several other robots. In such a small space, robots with killing programs set up are very terrifying. They are invulnerable to swords and guns, move quickly, and what's more terrifying is that they never miss a shot. In the warring states period of the universe more than 1,000 years ago, some countries used robots to kill. There was once a tragedy in which 4 killing robots massacred thousands of people. Therefore, the countries of human society came together to conclude the treaty on the prohibition of the use of lethal robots in space facilities. This treaty was implemented very well by various countries and forces in the Milky Way, even better than the treaty on the prohibition of the development of artificial intelligence. This is because the cost of making a small robot for killing is very low, and the technical threshold is even more terrifyingly low. 2,000 years ago, when humans had not yet migrated to space on a large scale, this small killing robot was developed on Earth. The most famous killing robot is the killer killing robot developed by the notorious Calamason company more than 1,000 years ago. When this robot is in a static state, it is a rectangle with a length of 1.8 meters, a width of 1.2 meters, and a height of 1.32 meters. It is wrapped in a plastic shell, but this shell is used to paralyze the opponent. These plastics make it look like a large color printer or an energy storage battery for an engineering mecha. It can be remotely controlled, or automatically fight using a preset combat mode. When the killing is activated, its 4 corners will extend to both sides, and become a spider-like robot. This design enables it to adapt to various terrains. The soles of the spider-like robot's legs are magnetic power-assisted wheels, which allows it to run at a maximum speed of 60 km per hour in the space station. Since most of the interior of the space station is made of metal, the magnetic auxiliary wheels can actually make the killer robot move on the wall or ceiling. Once it is targeted, humans can't escape at all. The weapon system of the killer robot is 2 macro submachine guns on the mechanical arm on its top. The rate of fire can reach hundreds of rounds per minute. It is fed by a belt, and uses caseless pistol bullets specially used for macro submachine guns. The ammunition capacity is 5,000 rounds. On this basis, the killer is generally equipped with a grenade launcher with a capacity of 12 rounds, or an anti-tank missile or a heavy machine gun. The detection system of the killer robot consists of an infrared detector, a laser TV imager and a life detector. These detectors are integrated on the top of the killer and protected by a semicircular reinforced bulletproof glass cover. In addition, under the plastic shell of the killer is its solid body, and human rifle bullets and grenades have no way to cause damage to it. Rifle grenades, machine guns and anti-material rifles can only cause minor damage to it, and there is no room to use such weapons against the killer inside the space station. The killer robot uses a small fuel cell as its energy source, which can support it to fight at high intensity for an hour, or stand by for 3 months. When Mason Company created the killer killing machine and put it on the market 1,000 years ago, in just 5 years, the killer attacked tens of thousands of space stations, resource satellites and spaceports. According to statistics, 60 million people were killed by this weapon. Human society was completely shocked. In the war of the space age, the means of winning mainly rely on mecha combat and space battleships. And using this weapon inside the space station is no different from massacre. And there is also a terrible problem. Once humans combine artificial intelligence with killing robots, if artificial intelligence gets out of control, humans may be wiped out from the history of the Milky Way. Therefore, human society sat together and concluded the Treaty on the Prohibition of the Development of Artificial Intelligence, and Mason Company was forced to close down. At this time, Carlos's robots in the space station are no less powerful than the killer. They hit every target and moved faster. Facing these killing machines, the humans in the space station were filled with despair. The battle to seize the supply station lasted only 20 minutes, and all the Northern Empire soldiers in the supply station were slaughtered. Carlos controlled the robots to clean up the battlefield. They moved some useful materials such as the spacecraft's nuclear fusion fuel rods, food, medicine, ammunition, etc. into the evil mind or Carlos's artificial intelligence space. Xia Xingchen led his men straight to the mecha warehouse, but when he got there, the scene in front of him disappointed him greatly. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.